Yes! Yes, 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 yes! That was a goal! Goal! Striker! Eat that! And another! Bing bang, stick it in. Thank you and good night.
Twat! That was liquid football!
Shit! Did you see that? He must have a foot like a traction engine. Goal!
Hello everybody, it's your old friends at Monday Madness and welcome back to another episode of the Liquid Football Podcast. This episode we are changing tack and moving away from the Premier League, away from the Champions League, away from all that good stuff, and we're going back to our roots and talking about the League of Ireland, which is starting off this weekend with a, well, shall we say a bumper, a couple of matches, one of them in the Aviva Stadium no less, against two Dublin rivals. That is on our conversation with myself, Dave and Kieran this time around. We're going to be talking about how the league's evolved in the last couple of years and how we think this season's going to go for everyone in that league, while also having a little bit of fun and going back into the treasure troves and trying to find what we think is the best 11 of the old Irish Premier Division, an era that we call the Electricity Men. For those who know, we'll get that reference. And the second half of the podcast, then we're going to give a little bit of time to the Scottish Premier Division, because we were talking about it in the previous podcast, or it's certainly alluding to it anyway, that there is a bit of a title race going on, not just between Celtic and Rangers, but also the strange team called Hearts of Midlothian that have somehow insisted upon themselves this season. So we're going to have a discussion with our resident expert Dave on that one. So that's all coming up on the Liquid Football Podcast.
Goal!
Okay then, so we are back onto our second episode of our Liquid Football Podcast, and as you may have seen from the title, we've gone very with the domestic affairs for this episode, and quite appropriately because the league season here in Ireland is about to start. And yes, I know a lot of other things are happening in the world of football. You have the Premier League that's always kind of like drudging on at the moment. You know, you've got the Carabao Cup final being set up, and it's going to be a heavyweight clash between the top two in the Premier League. And then, of course, you've got the Champions League, the Europa League, the Conference League, the Intertoto Cup. They're all being set up at the same time. It's absolutely tremendous. But for tonight's episode, considering the people that we have on tonight, which is, of course, Dave and Kieran, I thought we'd take a, what I'm calling, and again, this is not personal to you guys. This is just what I thought would be a catchy title for the podcast: An Idiot's Guide to the League of Ireland. Because I feel I'm a bit of a, I still consider myself a bit of a blow-in with the League of Ireland personally, and I would still kind of put myself in the kind of the recent convert to the league. Now, you guys have a lot more contact time with the league than I have for various different reasons. Kieran, obviously, you've been Pat's season ticket holder for a long time, and Dave, you obviously do work for Shells, whereas I am a season ticket holder for Shamrock Rovers, and Bowles can fuck off. And that's the end of that chapter. So,
honestly, this is probably the only thing we will actually agree on for the entire evening.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I suppose, like, I suppose to kind of preface the podcast, the reason why we're talking about it in the first place, because the League of Ireland has been, and I think this would be diplomatic in saying, for a long, long time has been much maligned. It's been neglected. It's been kind of an afterthought. It's been, shall we say, a casualty, or like caught in the crossfire of having such a prominent English football league right beside us. Not only for its popularity, but also for the fact that, like, we can't seem to retain any footballers. But there has been a shift in the tide as of late. A lot of, like, we've seen stories about the record attendances going up. Obviously, the stink of John Delaney's just ever so starting to waft out of the FAI now, so that's actually given some of the chance. And because, ironically, because of Brexit, our Irish lads can't really go to England anymore. So you have a choice of either going to the continent or staying here and signing professional contracts and then being sold for cash money, like we've had this year. So I wanted to kind of talk to you lads, kind of pick your brains about, like, what has kind of brought you into the League of Ireland in the same way that it's brought me. Because for me, a lot of it was like the fallout from the European Super League and all this other nonsense. Ticket prices going up, weirdly enough, just like kind of wanting to have something local and something organic after the pandemic and stuff like this. What would you guys, what would you say has kind of, like, in the last couple of years, has the League of Ireland really kind of attracted you as of late?
Kieran, you go ahead, mate.
Yeah, so for me, I've been going to Pats on and off for years. My dad was a season ticket holder. My dad lived obviously in Ballyfermot, was a Pats fan from when he was a child, brought us during sort of the Brian Kerr years, the back to back titles, that sort of stuff. Cup final day was always a big day for us. We'd go to all of the cup finals, Longford, Derry, all the ones that we lost. Let's be honest, we lost them.
I've no comment on that one, but considering that I went to one cup final where Pats had actually won, and I genuinely thought there was actual delirium in the stands because it actually happened.
Wait, well, which one was that? Was that Derry?
No, that was Bowles. Was it 2023? Was it?
Was that penalties? Or
No, he's
no,
won
that
an
was
extra.
No,
It
that
Derby.
was
was
the cup final. Yeah, we were there, weren't we?
You were right. Yeah,
You
it was
were at that.
one
Yeah, I
extra
was
time.
Yeah,
in
It
the
yeah,
was,
we were
same
there.
stadium.
Yeah.
yeah.
But from then, basically, I lapsed sort of teenage years. Different things got in the way. Couldn't go. Friday nights weren't free. Still managed to get to one or two games.
Mm.
But
There was an
then
awful lot of house parties, Kieran. There was an awful lot of drinking in those days.
the sad fact was there wasn't.
Probably drinks more
That's the
now
worst
than he
part
did back then.
about it.
He's
That's
catching
what
up
was
now.
but now, last couple of years, my dad obviously bought a season ticket. My uncle bought season tickets, and then I just picked one up by chance a couple of years ago. Started going to all the games, really enjoyed them, and just kept it going from then.
Mm.
Friday nights, great night to have some. Great night for football. There's no real competition.
Mhm.
You might have you might have one C-list Premier League game or something thrown in to keep Sky in money.
Mm.
And then the pandemic happened, and I think that was the best thing to happen to football in this country. Because one of the first things that opened up were League of Ireland grounds.
Yeah.
So, standing down, so I got a couple of tickets to Shed End, that sort of stuff. And for Pats anyway, 2023, the semi-final against Dundalk was the first. I think it was the first time they let full crowds into the stadium, and you
Mm.
had sort of 4,500 then Richmond Park. Fans who wanted live football, wanted to go see live football, but still the travel bans were on. You weren't able to go. You weren't able to do their usual their weekend trip over to Manchester, Liverpool, wherever.
Mm.
Fans all of a sudden they noticed and was like, the league isn't bad. The quality of football is not bad. Just fine. The facilities around the grounds aren't great, but the pitches are good. The players, technical, good football.
Mm.
And to be fair, ended in a good win for Pats as well. So a lot of those fans obviously followed to the cup final. They won, bought season tickets, and it sort of snowballed from there.
Okay.
So that's my pretty much story with Pats, and I think a lot of people will be similar.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's fair. How about you, Dave? Because obviously you kind of got a foot in two camps, on a professional and then on a personal level. But I don't want to derail your professional by saying what your personal is. So let's keep it.
Yeah, look, for me, it all started with Pats, and similar to Kieran's story, Kieran's dad's story. I grew up in Ballyfermot, not too far at all from Richmond Park. It was literally a 20-minute walk from my house. Walk out the door. 20, 25 minutes. I'm at Richmond Park. It wasn't far. And my uncle used to take me down to games, and this was mid-90s. Do you know what I mean? I still have my Pat's Autoglass shirt from when I was like 7, or 6 or 7, somewhere in the room. I don't know where now. I couldn't dig it out, but I still have that shirt, and that'll stay there. And it was all just I came from a time where I didn't have a lot growing up really. I couldn't afford to go to Liverpool or Manchester. To be honest with you, no one in my family bar me likes football. So, it
You're a
was
bit
just
stuck
kind
there
of
then,
me,
yeah.
and I was a bit stuck in there. It was all my uncles that were into football. One of my uncles is a Derby County fan. One of my uncles is a Chelsea fan. The other uncle was a United fan. So there was definitely a mix of football in there. But I never went to Manchester for a game. You know what I mean? I never went to Liverpool till
Mm.
later in life. So my closest was Richmond Park. It was St. Patrick's Athletic, and it still is to this day St. Patrick's Athletic. I think, like Kieran said, I think the best thing to happen to football in Ireland was the pandemic. It was one of those kind of like silver lining things where, yes, the pandemic was an atrocious thing to happen, but for Irish football, the silver lining was that people were forced to look local for football. And they realised that, yeah, the League of Ireland is actually half decent now that, we're coming out of that era of no real training grounds, no real stadiums aren't crumbling anymore. They're starting to rebuild again.
Clubs are
And I
I think all the clubs are professional. All the league,
yeah,
all the Premier Division clubs are now
yeah.
professional as well.
So that's a big
thing.
because like we came through it in a time where it was a semi-professional league. We all remember the Aircom League days. We all remember those Aircom League days because they were iconic in their own little way. It's the way people say Barclays about the Premier League. The Barclays days were the best because people still took long shots. People still threw their tackles in. It had like a bit of swagger and personality about it. The Aircom League days were those days for us in the League of Ireland. Where there was just these cult heroes like Gary Twigg at Shamrock Rovers, who for some reason, just for some reason, just ended up a cult figure at Shamrock Rovers. Do you know what I mean? Just one of these players that just still loves the fans, still loves the club to this day.
Yeah.
But I'll always remember figures like him in the League of Ireland at that time.
Well, funny enough, Dave, I've got a segment for this after our League of Ireland chat, would you believe? And it is literally try and make our best 11 of Airtricity men. So
there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
So more on that story to get it. But I fully agree with you on this Gary Twigg thing. A lot of it has to do with our first European adventures.
Yeah, absolutely. So then, coming out of the pandemic, and I spent the whole pandemic interviewing footballers and kind of honing my skills on interviewing and podcasts and things like that. And I spoke to a few League of Ireland players. I spoke to Matt Holland as well. I spoke to a couple of past players, and hearing what they had to say as well about their time in the league, and I really wanted to get back into it. So I think it was 2023 or 2023. I sent an email to pretty much every club in the League of Ireland, asking if they needed a commentator for club channels, because that's what I was doing at the time with Aberdeen and Ross County and Dundee and Hibs and stuff. I was doing bits and pieces for all of them clubs. So I was like, well, this will give me a chance to get home and properly see our league and how it's doing. And Shelbourne were the only clubs to get back to me.
Fair enough.
They were the only ones to get back to me. And that was kind of how I ended up on League of Ireland TV for 2.5 years, which I still love. I absolutely love my time on LOI TV for Shells, because I literally witnessed the kind of start of that streaming service up until now, where you not only have the streaming service, which is tied in with Premier Sports, which is huge, but you also have Off the Ball providing live commentary from literally behind me where I am in the stand. Radio commentary, which is massive. You never had so many platforms cover a game at one time. And seeing that progression firsthand was crazy. The players who were coming in and the players who were leaving to go elsewhere. You look at Jack Moylan, who went to Lincoln City. You look at all these players who went over to England, and the players that were coming in were the big thing. And we're seeing it now more than ever. The players that are being attracted from not only from England, but from Scotland and from Wales. And we're getting loads of people in. The transfer window this year, we'll get into it in a second. But
we will,
that was for me. I'm now a stadium announcer for Talca. Last year was my first year doing it. Absolutely loved it. It took a couple of weeks, a couple of games to kind of find my rhythm in it. You know what I mean? Get the script right and get everything in a flow, when you want to turn up, when you want to start everything. Kieran's seen it firsthand. Kieran is down there for the past game. And they'll probably be there for the past game in March as well. But yeah, and I'm back this season. So next Friday's double header. Next Friday 13th and then the 20th as well. So back at it again. I absolutely love our league. I love the League of Ireland so much. You know what I mean? I keep on top of it. I watch all the highlights when I can. But yeah, that's what brought me in, and that's what's kept me in. I like Kieran, the teen years, we all had our metalhead phase, and we all had our little rocker phase, and we all had our little times where we didn't give a shit about football for 4 or 5 years or 6 years, whatever it was, but we always went back to it. When we got out of that phase, we went back to it like a hammer on an anvil.
Or if there was a game or somebody said, "Hey, I have tickets
Yeah,
for whatever,"
yeah. Or
I
I'm
would
going
watch it
out to
for
watch
them.
Champions League finals. You want to come along? Oh, yeah, sure. Go down to the pub watch Champions League final.
Yeah,
You're always there into it. But that's League of Ireland's always been there for me at
Mm.
the forefront of my mind, because it's just that was my first experience of football, was Richmond Park, Shed End, St Patrick's Athletic.
yeah,
End
Yeah.
of.
That's fair. I suppose like from coming from the kind of the Shamrock Rovers point of view, I think like I think you kind of nailed the point in the head there about League of Ireland TV. I think that did so much massive work on the league's behalf just to get some
Mhm.
eyes on it in that respect. And I think it is like in a way like it's kind of doing something that like the Premier League could only wish it to do and have its
Yeah,
own bespoke streaming service. And again,
yeah,
it's not because like they wanted to in a sense, because it was a necessity, because
yeah.
like realistically RTE don't particularly care about the league, even though there's a lot of lip service when it comes to the FAI
Yeah.
Cup and all that stuff. They very much got their pants pulled down last year when Virgin Media took the bull by the horns and have promised
Which was
that
great. You know what? That was
game.
great, because
Yeah,
RTE were shafting the league,
they
not
were.
showing enough games. And for Virgin Media to come in and say, "Do you know what? We're going to show more than you. We're going to cover this league like no tomorrow."
Yeah,
and we'll show
Really
one
put
a week.
ourselves in there.
We'll show one a week. We'll have proper
Yep.
analysis
yeah,
Yep.
compared to what RTE had been doing with two lads on the side of the
Yeah.
pitch.
yeah,
Yeah.
10 minutes
There's a studio
beforehand.
set up now where you
It
have
looks, yeah, it looks
ex-players who have been in
professional.
the league, who know the league.
mm,
And not only that, but with League of Ireland TV and the way social media is today as well, for the fact that Finn Harps have a fan in Mexico, I mean, that should say everything you need to know
Yeah,
about the reach of LOI TV and social media.
I think it's also the power of Football Manager as well, if we're being honest. But
Yeah,
however, yeah,
it is. But, it's one of these things where people in Australia and America who have emigrated, people who have, moved across to Spain or wherever they are in the world,
yeah,
know for a fact they can pay for this subscription and they can watch the local team again. So, I mean, this is the reach of this thing is global,
yeah,
and it's
absolutely, yeah,
really
yeah,
shown in the league how much bigger. You look at Friday night, how many attendances now are sold out. I can't recall how many there are, but games are selling out weeks in advance.
yeah,
Waterford Shells is sold out. Down in Waterford, there's a couple of others that are close to it now as well. The
mm,
fact that games are selling out, I know it's opening night, I know it's the beginning of the league, I know there's massive hype around it and stuff, but the fact that these games are selling out weeks in advance, you couldn't have set that 5 or 6. You couldn't
no.
pre-pandemic. You wouldn't have set that.
no, definitely not.
And I don't
Like
know
I said,
about you,
it's sorry, Kieran, go on ahead there.
I don't know about you. I've been in Richmond Park with 2, 3, 400 people.
Oh yeah,
Now
yep,
we're at what 5,000. Now 4,500 was the average last
100%.
year.
Yeah, 100%.
You've got sort of 2, 3,000, probably more in season tickets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we get the same kind of message on our side in a sense. Again, it always looks worse for us because Tallaght Stadium is massive in comparison to
Yeah,
the rest
yeah,
of the rest of the league. But obviously with Daily Mount and with Talk, they're all going to catch up a little bit, hopefully.
yeah.
And it won't look at half as bad. And obviously there's massive work being done with the Brandywell up in Derry as well, which is quite interesting.
Mhm.
To see so much money being put into that club. But even from that respect, like even like our stadium will look almost half empty most matches, but it's still 6,000 people, and it's like it you
Mhm.
only really appreciate it when you're looking at like say, I mean, okay, our attendance has kind of dropped over the summer because we had so many games on at any given
Yeah,
time that there was like
yeah.
2 games per week for the majority of the season.
And a lot of them weren't covered by season tickets. So
Oh yeah, well that's
there's
also another part of it.
money involved.
Yeah. Well, that's the other part of it as well, is the season tickets are so reasonable because again, I think one of the biggest kind of positives for the League of Ireland is that it's affordable, it's sustainable, and it's for the people in a sense. It's like League of Ireland TV
yeah,
is 100 quid for the season. That's a steal when you compare it, considering that like you'd be paying what, like
yeah.
there's a 26 a month for Sky or
The Sky,
TNT
yeah.
and stuff like that. So
And
like
that's
it's
half, and you're missing out on games there.
that's it exactly. And at the very least, then like that is a kind of a direct investment in the league itself. So if you invest in this, then the infrastructure gets better. To get to show like more things, do more features, all this sort of stuff. It does work, and in a way, I think the biggest thing for me for getting back into League of Ireland is that like there is an actual direct connection in a sense. It's like in the same way that like why did I get into indie wrestling in this country? It's because, well, I know people involved in indie wrestling. I actually remember these people. You see the same faces over and over again. It's a community aspect to it, and it's a weird kind of like there's almost like a subculture quality to it, where like I know that person from that show, I know that person from that match, and then that's how you get talking to people. But I went to school with the Shamrock Rovers captain. Like he was a year below me, you know, and everyone has those kind of similar stories where like I know him from such and such. Where like I was in a taxi cab and I didn't realize fucking Christy Fagan was the driver until halfway
Yeah.
through. You know what I mean? Stuff like that happens. But
There
like
you go. Yeah, exactly.
that's the magic of the league in a sense is that it was always so approachable and it always and it much and you know what, this is such an Irish thing as well in a sense because the GAA is the same. Everyone knows someone on the fucking panel. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
fucking throw a
100%.
stone before you meet a fucking Paul Mescal lookalike who's going for the fucking intercounty. You know, this is the same thing with the League of Ireland.
Yeah,
However, there is one thing I'd kind of throw in there that we haven't kind of met yet, and it is actually the match quality. I think has improved so much in the last couple
Massively.
of years, because as you lad said, like facilities and pitches have a lot to do with it, but the actual technical ability for the average League of Ireland player has improved so much in the last, I would say, in
yeah,
the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah,
Um,
completely.
I think there's a few things to do with it. I think there are better there's better coaching happening in the
yeah,
league, but it's not got to the stage of say like the Premier League at the moment where it's almost like a
yeah,
war of attrition and everything is set pieces. Weirdly enough, there's like a nice balance of like really what I would call gentrified football teams and then kind of throwback teams. So like
yeah,
Yeah.
gentrified teams, I throw like Pats, the Dublin teams really like all the
yeah,
Dublin teams
yeah,
are
yeah.
very much gentrified, and I throw probably Derry into that category as well. Although Dundalk are making a conversation with that as well, to be fair.
If
Uh,
you want to look at the statistics there, Jonathan, right?
yeah.
There's 10 teams, there's 288 players in the League of Ireland Premier Division, okay?
Hmm.
The average age in the League of Ireland at the moment is 24 and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is
That's
quite young. That's the youngest it's been for a
unbelievable.
long time, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
And only 32% of those 93 players, 32% of those are foreign players.
Yes.
So the majority, almost, 66% of those are
Hmm.
all Irish players. They're homegrown players. So
Yeah.
thankfully we haven't seen that percentage swing too far, the other way, and we hope it doesn't. But for an average age of 24 in a top division
Hmm.
is fantastic. It's
Uh,
unbelievable.
it's interesting in a sense because like I like my the perception of the League of Ireland for years has been that it's an old man's league, it's a retirement league, and all this sort of stuff. And
Yeah.
some elements of that are true, particularly this year, where like you got a lot of like celebrity footballers showing up in the league this season, like James McClean and then the Stevens. But that's in fairness, that's always been the case. Like everyone does a kind
Yeah.
of little
We've
retirement
always
league
had
in the league anyway.
one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
like
Fahy came back to Pats a few years
yeah.
back.
Ah,
yeah.
look, fucking Johnny Giles did it with Shamrock Rovers as well. Like it
Yeah.
happens, you know. Like
Yeah,
it's like that stuff. It's commonplace, you know. But in that respect, it's not like the league is not being built around James McClean. Is the point?
no,
Is what I'm saying.
no.
Like a couple of years ago, the whole story would have been James McClean is coming
Yeah.
back to the League of
Yeah.
Ireland. Let's center the League of Ireland around him. Like I think certainly for like in terms of making like the League of Ireland interesting, the pull of Damien Duff was a huge bit of traction. And again, I think
Yeah,
like that's a bit of a kind of a faux pas to say as like if you're not a Shells fan to say that Damien Duff has done that, but it is true. It is objectively
yeah,
true. Anything that
It
Damien
got
Duff has
eyes on the
said has got
it
traction.
got eyes on the product.
It did absolutely.
yeah,
And listen, if
yeah,
if the man ever shows up in the league again, it's gonna be the same thing. It's that kind of Mourinho effect of like put a camera on him, he's gonna do something fucking mental, you know.
Yeah.
And like I said, like it's and again it was the kind of just desserts in a sense at our expense, obviously, but he did win a league with Shells, and that really can't be discounted because a couple of years beforehand, Shells were semi-professional. They weren't even able to
yeah,
they were in the first division financially ruined, you know. So
yeah,
their upward trajectory is unbelievable.
yeah,
And I think the other element I would say as well, again, to kind of go entwined with how the kind of quality has improved over the last few years, the exposure to Europe has been a lot more kind of prolonged with Irish
Yes.
clubs because
yeah,
it's always been the case that the Irish clubs used to get absolutely spanked in Europe.
Yeah.
Absolutely spanked.
Everybody has the 8-0 story or
Yeah,
the
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And this is
And all
probably
it all kind of started with Stephen Kenny and Dundalk, didn't it? It
yeah.
all kind of
Michael
started
O'Neill.
when
Michael O'Neill, I would say,
Michael O'Neill, yeah.
yeah,
It
yeah,
all kind of started, that was when we started to make progression gradually,
yeah.
getting points in Europe and getting closer to, being regulars. And then this season, we had two teams from the League of Ireland in the league phase for the first
Well,
time in history.
well, I would
You
argue
know,
that like if Michael O'Neill had not got Shamrock Rovers into the Europa League back in
yeah.
2008, oh Jesus, 2009 I think it was,
Hmm.
or 2010. It was one of those years because we were playing Harry Redknapp Spurs, so it was in
Yeah.
that era anyway. Like that
Barclays.
that legacy of that team getting to Shamrock Rovers, to getting Shamrock Rovers into Europe is still being felt by the club to this day, because the
100%.
sheer amount of capital, the money that went into the club from that alone is unbelievable. Now, I think we lost all of our games. And I don't think UEFA had the kind of done the solidarity payments at that point where, like, if you drew or you won a game, you get X amount
You
of
got
money.
money per
Yeah,
pause,
I don't
pay
think
per
it
point,
wasn't
whatever.
as extensive as they have it now, where like basically a draw means like a draw is financially winning the league in Europe, which is again Shels will have failed the benefit of that this past season as well. But the sheer fact, like the contact time you have now in Europe is unbelievable, because obviously they've have brought in the Conference League, and I think that has a lot to speak to the league itself, because there is now a more approachable target for Irish clubs to get there. Because you look at some of the teams that qualify and you're thinking, "Jays, if a team from the Faroe Islands get through, surely we can get through." Or, but then again, you still kind of get these kind of weird aberrations like Derry losing to a literal pub team in Gibraltar and
Yeah.
stuff like this. So there's still a long way to go.
But
But
equally, you then also get the likes of Pat's last couple of years drawing Istanbul or
brilliant
Besiktas,
results.
where
Yeah.
you've got where you can see,
Yeah.
and I think it's good in a way for the teams to get those big teams in the qualifiers where you go, okay, this is a realistic expectation of where we are.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
that's fair.
like,
Yeah.
where, okay, fine, they're dropping down into this, but it's still, if your aspiration is to, qualify from the Conference League, you're going to be playing one of these teams.
Well, that's other part of it as well, is that tactically a lot of the teams that are going into Europe are playing a European style. Like the way Stephen Bradley plays Shamrock Rovers is not the way a traditional like League of Ireland team ever played.
Yeah.
Like a traditional League of Ireland team would always have been a 4-4-2 or a back five or something, whereas his is wing backs. It's like little pocket number 10s. It's all little tricksters in midfield and all this, and it's like it's very up to speed with like how modern kind of like tactical football is, and that's always been his kind of case as well. Even when he never had the players for it, he still wanted to play this kind of style. And credit to Joey O'Brien for doing the same at Shells. Like he's trying to play tactically a style that like maybe he doesn't have the technical side of it yet, but eventually he will. And Stephen Kenny, to his credit, has always played open and really what I would call honest football, even to his own detriment. He will always play this on an honest style of football, and in a way he would suffer for it domestically in the League of Ireland, because some teams would just go past it and just go brute force.
Yeah, physicality, and he's mentioned it twice in the last two interviews he's done. He's mentioned it that last year we weren't physical enough.
Yeah, exactly. But in Europe, you feel the benefit, because you're trouncing teams in Europe 2 or 3-0, and then the draw betrays you because you're unseeded.
Yeah.
So like
an example of that is Barry Bagley.
No.
Just picking a player, Barry Bagley, League of Ireland. Last year, pilloried. I didn't rate him at all in the League of Ireland. Just lightweight, looked out of place. Put him in the games in Europe, and that pocket of space. Maybe more lenient more strict referees.
Yes.
Where where the refereeing is, where stuff that you'd get away with in League of Ireland. The what you call the cynical fouls or the cheap fouls.
Yeah.
That you don't get away with in Europe. He started drawing those fouls, and he started looking like the player he was hyped up to be.
In theory, to be, yeah, exactly, yeah. Well, listen, we might as well get stuck into the current season now, because obviously, as we're recording, it's Wednesday, and the league is about to kick off proper on a Friday. We have a couple of Friday matches. Obviously, the main event is in the Aviva, Bowls and Pats, which obviously, Kieran, I'm
is that on Saturday or is that on?
That's on the Sunday.
Sunday, 2 o'clock Sunday.
Right. 2 o'clock Sunday. I'll give that an L watch.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's another thing. Having those games in the Aviva gets eyes on, but because it's Sunday 2 o'clock, Virgin Media are showing 2 games this week.
Yeah.
So immediately there's the option to have eyes on the product again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you might get somebody who goes, you know what, that wasn't a bad game. I might head along. Pats have Galway, I think, is the first game.
Yeah.
I have the fixture somewhere. Okay, I'll head up to Richmond Park, or I'll head over to Dalymount, wherever it may be.
Yeah. Like I know from our kind of point of view, like we had that kind of like our season was quite strange last year, because the season start was back-to-back games against Molde. So I think it was only we had the away game in Norway where Noonan scored the away goal there, and then had this big bombastic kind of like season opener against Bowls losing that game and then suddenly then going to go, it's only it's in a weird way, it's going like, well, okay, we'll make up those 3 points in the league, but we really have to nail this game against Molde, and unfortunately we go out on penalties. Shit happens. We got lucky with penalties during their campaign, so turnabout's fair play. But I will say is like I'd be interested to see how you guys think the league is going to go this season, because obviously like it's like unfortunately like Rovers have had a bit of a dominion over the league in the last couple of years, with obviously Shells breaking that kind of streak in between. So naturally Rovers are favourites again for the league. But is there any of those kind of like any of those clubs in the league, again, for those uninitiated, it's only a 10 club league, so it's very fucking tight and very competitive. Who do you think is the best place to challenge Shamrock Rovers for the league title?
Shelbourne.
You think it's
I'm seeing it everywhere, and I had an idea of this may be the season that they start picking it up again. We've seen it at the back end of last season where they went on a massive run, where they start to find their form and get into that style of play that Joey's been using, because some of the players that came in the summer, the likes of Milan and Bang, started now to adapt to that style of football and stuff. So I've had a look at, I've made my own judgment. I've had a look at what other people are saying out there in the media and things like that. There's a lot of Shelbourne heavy journalists and a lot of Shelbourne heavy people in the League of Ireland at the minute covering this league, who are thinking, okay, maybe they can mount the title challenge again this year.
Okay.
Especially getting James Norris permanently was a big deal.
I think keeping Harry Wood was a big one.
Harry Wood as well, and bringing in was Aegon from Cliftonville.
Yep.
Record signing 175 grand, something like that.
Oren Casey, yeah.
That's Oren. Sorry, Oren Casey, big signing for them. So they're bringing in players that, okay, we had him on loan last season, let's get him permanently. James Norris, Wessel Spiel's back in on loan again for another season. The players that have done well on loan, they've managed to really do well in keeping some of them about. Kerr McEnroy's still there. He signed a new deal last season. He
had a great season for last year.
And with Harry Wood and Ali Coote as well, them two again this season are going to be pivotal for Shells, especially in that rotation when you have those silly little Leinster Senior Cup games and you have those early kind of round FAI Cup games and stuff like that. It's great to see them bringing up academy players as well. So they brought up Dan Ring. And Sean Rourke, I think, has come up as well. They've signed professional contracts. Dan Ring is a talent that they've touted and used in Europe. And
Alex Flynn is another one I've heard Joey O'Brien mention as well. Yeah.
So the fact that they're bringing not just signing players, but they're bringing players up through the academy as well, which is kind of what Joey O'Brien and Damien Duff wanted to do. They wanted to have a straight pathway to the first team, which is important for this league.
And in fairness, it really was a no-brainer as well, considering that Shells' academy would probably be on par with Rovers. So like they do, and like realistically, there's more opportunities at Shells than there would be at Shamrock Rovers. So I
think we're looking at this season. I think I'll give a top 4 prediction of Rovers and Shells, maybe the top 2, and you'll have Derry and Pats below them. I think that'll be a strong. That's just me saying. Maybe it'll be this. Bows, I think, will drop off.
Interesting.
This season. Okay. I think they've not really. Well, it depends on who they sign or who they have signed. I've not really looked into it, but there doesn't seem to be much activity from a Bows point of view, especially that they've made Europe. There's not been much movement transfer-wise in Bows' squad. When you hit Europe and you realize, we're back again, like what Shell's done, they brought players in to make sure they had that kind of backup in the squad, and they had that depth there that they could go ahead and take Europe seriously. Bows have not done that. So if they're going to have these European games in the summer, they're not going to be able to handle those games with the domestic campaign. And, there's going to be injuries, there's going to be players that are going to drop off. So I think they'll be mid-table okay, but I can't see them kind of challenging for that top spot or even top 3.
Hypothetically, do you lads actually do have like do you have a notion of how you think the league table is going to end up, like from 1 to 10? Like if I was to put you on the spot roughly.
I mean.
Well, I share mine to get us having this.
Go on. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Right. So
obviously, Rovers first.
I had let's not go that far. Well, I'll go who I think is going down anyway, and I think Dundalk are going right back down anyway.
Interesting take. Really? Okay.
Yeah, and the reason I'm saying that is solely because looks like obviously we didn't do the podcast when the shit was hitting the fan with Dundalk.
Yeah.
And it was solely because really like Dundalk were really at death's door. Like we cannot stress enough how
they were they were literally halfway up that, that light in the sky,
That stairway, yeah.
Yeah,
stairway to heaven.
they
They
were
were on
going
the
up to see
way.
the Spirit in the Sky. There was no fucking doubt about that.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
so close to it.
Um,
The fact that promotion wasn't denied is a shocker. Because there was a lot of talk about them not going up
yeah,
last season.
and it seemed to be very touch and go in terms of actually getting like
Mhm.
that kind of those funds in. Like,
The
apparently,
licenses and everything, and yeah.
yeah. And like I'm looking at the players they brought in. They've got in a lot of experience. In fairness, like they've gone like I think the one that caught my eye big time was Danny Mullen going from Derry, and it's like fuck me, like what are Derry doing?
Danny Mullen is a class player.
So
I said that last season to a few of the guys at Talca. I said Danny Mullen's going to be a problem for so many teams this season.
Yeah.
Because of his experience and because of how good a player he is. I watched him play for Dundee for a lot of years. And I always liked Danny Mullen as a player. I saw him play at, Partick Thistle, Derry, sitting there, and
he's been around. He's
had a massive career in
aspect,
Livingston. Yeah. But he played for so long in Scotland that I've managed to track his career over here because I always quite liked him.
Yeah.
And he's done well in the league. He's done very well in the league. He's adapted very well.
He has, yeah. And like I said, that's why I was so surprised to see him go to opt for Dundalk in a sense. But again, I think because Dundalk have so much ground to catch up to on the rest. And again, Cork had this problem last season as well. Like Cork coming in with like Rory Keaton and Shawnee Maguire as the two front men, and unfortunately both of them got injured, and immediately there was a tailspin. And obviously Tim Clancy left as well. Didn't think that kind of particularly kind of bothered. They did, to their credit, they did make the cup final, but the damage was done in the league at that point, really. And I think just there's a gap developing now between the Premier Division and the First Division. Like it is a bit insurmountable if you don't have a little bit of financial grunt there, which some First Division teams do have, but some of them don't. And I think Dundalk really only got back promoted because they're able to retain the likes of Daryl Horgan and a couple of those players that did get relegated.
And they've got they took in Ag Dervin from Shells, which is a very, very, very good sign. And he was never going to be used. He was always on the fringes. It was a good move to go to Dundalk. And then we have Connor Kearns as well.
And John Menzies back at Dundalk as well. He's been the mainstay for a long time. Yeah, so
I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah,
but it's going to be a tough bottom of the table, I think, this year.
But I think
I have Sligo down the bottom.
You have Sligo down, okay.
Which is interesting. I mean, they've lost fucking.
Oh, and Elding is the biggest loss there, yeah.
That's what I mean. They've lost most of their goals. They haven't really strengthened.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good point. They have the Owen Elding money. A lot of money that he was paid for him.
Well, the money only came in recently. And I get the feeling, and the discussion that's going on at the moment is they're waiting for the transfer window to close this week to see who's what's available out there.
Yeah,
so I imagine like our transfer window is another 18 days, 20 days away.
Yeah.
So there's still time. I expect to see after this week when teams have had their first real shakeout.
Mm-hmm.
To see, like, I know Pat's pre-season, we haven't played any Premier Division teams. I don't know what Rovers or Shells pre-seasons have been like, but
we've been pretty good in fairness. Like this is actually the first time we've had a proper pre-season in like 2 years because of the European games. So
as you know, the pre-season means nothing until first 2 or 3 weeks of the season. Injuries, suspensions are going to play a big role. In that, but based on what I've seen so far, Sligo definitely down towards the bottom.
Yeah. So you had that. So do you both have Sligo down to as the bottom of the league then, Kieran, or Dave? Would you agree at that point?
Sligo, it's not a bad show. I'm not sure about who's going straight down yet. They're not a bad show. You've got Dundalk to Sligo. I'm gonna have a look at the table at the moment.
Go for it, yeah.
I'm gonna give you
if it's any consolation, I do have Sligo down in the playoff position, and it is down to because of that drop off to because again they only really survived in the last day with a win against us.
Call me crazy, but I'm gonna put Waterford in the bottom.
Okay,
I've Waterford in ninth. I have Waterford in ninth on mine.
They just about survived last season. I think they'll go down this
season.
The
goals of Ammon's golden boot was a big part of that.
Yeah, exactly. You take Ammon out of the equation, they're gone anyway.
I think. Yeah, okay. That's interesting.
I think it'll be Waterford.
All right. Yeah, I have Sligo down in ninth. And again, it's mainly because Elding leaving and not seem also the big part as well, like McClean gone as well. So that's that's their big centre back gone too, and they don't seem to have replaced them as far as I can see. And again, there's still a few days left in the window, so they'll probably poach somebody possibly from the first division or elsewhere in order to do that. What I will say about Sligo is that they have an uncanny ability of being able to kind of sell their players and still make good of what they have. Like I would say, like the job that John Russell has done at Sligo has been extremely underappreciated. Because of all the teams I've seen kind of like live over the last 2 seasons, Sligo, when you look at the team sheet and you go like, there's no great shakes in the squad, but they play fantastic football. And they play football that's within their means. They play open football. They're quite counter-attacking. They're quite they play wide football, quite brave for what you think they should be playing a bit more pragmatically, but they don't. They actually have a go. They commit to the game, and like especially in the showgrounds, like they try and nail their home games, and enough home results will get you over the line in the league. They were very close with this year though. But
I think Ashley Meekison will do well. I don't think he'll do well at Bows. I think he'll do better at Sligo. He's done okay at Bows, but I think he'll do better at Sligo.
I just think John Russell's a fantastic coach, and he gets the best out of
he gets the most out of his team. Yeah. That's why I have Galway. I've Galway a little bit further up than possibly some people do. I have them up in 7th.
Like Drogheda is always a weird one. Drogheda is always like, you're not going to go down. You're not going to do well though.
Yeah,
this is kind of like that. They're stuck in purgatory.
But when you look at it, aside from their implosion against Bows on the last day of the season, given that Pats had missed their chance against Shells, Drogheda had their chance to nick 4th last year.
Yeah.
And that was after getting into Europe through the cup the previous year, staying up through the playoffs, that they'd put together that run and kept it going.
So you have them in 7th, Kieran, do you?
No, I have Galway. I have Dundalk in 8th and Galway in 7th.
Okay.
And again, those three could, Waterford, Galway, and Dundalk could sort of flip, depending on injuries, depending on suspensions, and depending on who comes in the next 2 weeks.
Yep, that's fair. I mean, it's always a mixed bag down that way anyway. So what's your 10 to 7, Dave? So we're all up at the same level
10 to 7. So I would go Waterford, Sligo, Galway. No, I'd go Waterford, Sligo, Dundalk, Galway, and Drogheda.
Okay, that's fair.
That'd be my bottom half of the table.
Okay, cool. Mine is not too far away in fairness, so I do think Waterford are going to stay in are going to be fine. Because now the reason I say that is mostly because they have very much they have bought good players in.
Yes.
I think their biggest mistake last season was being so reliant on Podge Almond for goals, and ultimately it did work for them in the end. But I think the problem they had was that they had very little else in. But I'm looking at now they have signed for cash money Conan Noonan from us. He had a phenomenal league loan campaign with them. Like he was their second goal scorer, and I think their top assist man. So he was
as of 2 hours ago, Pádraig Hammond has signed a new 2-year contract extension with Waterford as well. So that's a big help for them. To kind of put their minds at ease and say, okay, we've got this guy.
They also have Lonergan, who at some point has to show what
100%. Yeah,
he has to put together the consistency that he's shown. Like he's shown it in flashes.
Yeah. You say something about Conor Carty as well. Like Conor Carty had an absolutely terrible season at Pats last year, and maybe the change of scenery will help. I don't know, but again, they cherry picked a couple of good players around. Like a lot of they're targeting younger players, and I think that's a John Daly trait as well. He wants to make the best out of young players. So
Keane also targeting goals as well. They've also said, okay, Ammond probably isn't going to replicate 18 goals last season.
Yeah.
So we need to, we need the rest of the team to step up around that. So they've brought in Noonan, Carty.
Yeah.
Obviously you're hoping Lonergan stays fit and healthy. So
because they're your only forwards that you've got with them, really.
Yeah.
The only forwards that you have are Lonergan, Ammond, and Carty. Really, they are only players.
Now, like I said, I would have a lot of faith in Conan Noonan. Like he was an absolutely unbelievable talent in our academy. And again, just the frustrating thing is that he is in the same position as Graham Burke and Danny Mandrew and Aaron McAneff, and we have to sell McAneff. So
they've got Cian Barrett, don't they, as well?
He's on loan. He's on loan for the season. Yeah. So I think if he the same again, if he has a phenomenal season for Waterford, he could very well earn a move down there as well. Because again, it's one of those positions where we have so much depth. It's hard to kind of give a proper opportunity to those lads. So it's only fair to give them proper men's football, as you say. I have Galway down in 7th. I think we all have Galway in 7th.
It's kind of like you can't write off Galway. They're consistent 7 out of 10 every week team, and funnily enough, 7 out of 10, they'll finish around there because
Yeah.
they do have a consistency about them.
I do think
They
they're going
win
to have
their
a
home
massive drop
game.
off this season, though, is what I would say. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if John Caulfield's a casualty this year because they're like they have a distinctive like they have lost a lot of massive players. Like, they're pretty much their entire like first 11 from last year is gone. And like Borden is gone,
It's a
Hickey's gone,
very,
Izu is
very
gone,
good point.
and so is Brendan Clark and Greg Cunningham. And I'll be honest with you, Brendan Clark was
Wow.
probably the best goalkeeper in the league last season beyond Ed
Yeah.
McGinty and probably Dennison. So yeah, like there were a lot of players that they're losing out first time. They've
If I'm
recruited
right,
well.
they don't have a goalkeeper. They've got Evan Watts on loan from Swansea. But
Yeah.
other than that, they don't have a goalkeeper.
No, they got a Portuguese goalkeeper in called Hugo Cunha, so he probably will
Oh, okay.
start. Yeah. Now again, this is why
At Galway.
What's that?
At Galway.
At Galway, yeah.
Was he not Waterford?
No, Hugo Cunha is well.
Okay.
Yeah. No, in fact, I think Waterford recruited from the same league as well, but
Right,
yeah.
right.
But in fairness, like the reason I say I would never ever rule out Galway because the recruitment is actually quite savvy for a league for a club of their kind of like of their range of their scope, if you like. Because again, they found Moses Dyer, and my goodness, did they ever like ride that kind of like that rocket until he left? And again, he left solely for financial reasons. If he wasn't offered super money in Cambodia, I think he probably would have stayed. So they still have good players in there, and again, they have
But the goals dried up immediately.
They did, yeah. But listen, there was also the loss of Ollie Horgan in the team as well, and if you see the comparison from the Liverpool team as well, losing someone as with the magnitude and the charisma of Ollie Horgan is going to do massive damage, So there's always that point too.
In the conversation of Galway, they have a player called Wasiri Williams. You know Wasiri Williams. This kid is 25 years of age. Galway United will be his 12th club at 25 years of age.
I love it. We had Roman Ricketts, and he was like we were like his 23rd team club. Like this is what we're talking about for electricity, man. This is what we need.
That's 12, not including the loan spells. That is permanent signings. So if you include the loan spells, 16 in total.
That's fantastic. What a man.
At 25.
I hope he put out a podcast. That'd be great.
Bromley, Sheppey United, Lordswood, Walton and Hersham, Stainstown. He went all the way up then to Swansea in 22-23. On loan to Dundalk, Partick Thistle, Whitehawk, Dagav Pills, where they play.
They're Latvian, I think.
The Latvian Higher League, as it's eloquently called. And then went straight to Galway United. So it's such a good trivia. He's such a good trivia player because you can literally say how many permanent moves has Wasiri Williams received in his career. Nobody will get 12.
No, nobody will. No.
Nobody will get 12. But anyway,
I'm looking at the Galway squad at the moment, and they've been quite clever in who they've picked up. Like they picked up Twardek, who knows the league. They picked up Bulger, who knows the league. They picked up, and they're also players who fit in with sort of the Galway style down the showgrounds. Tough to play in.
Yeah.
That especially start the season. The heavy pitches, high winds, and if they can, and at the start of the season when they've got a full team, their big drop off that I've noticed the last couple of years is when players
picked up Kazim as well, didn't they? Kazim for Pats.
Exactly, they've picked up players who know the league, who know the club.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I have them sort of so high that they're a style of football, and they've got a player profile that knows that style of football.
Yeah. They'll win enough games to get by this season, I think.
They have a weird Canadian connection as well. They have a weird Canadian connection. It's just strange. Like they've got three Canadian players in there. So it's like, okay.
Yeah. So Dave, you have Drogheda in 6th. Kieran, would you agree with that? Or are you?
Yeah, same.
Well, I actually don't hate me here, but I actually have Pats 6th.
I wouldn't be surprised. I have Pats, Bowes, and Drogheda 4, 5, and 6.
Okay.
And it wouldn't surprise me if any of those three flip. They're what you sort of call best. I'd have those three as best of the rest.
Not a bad show.
I just have I have a very sinking feeling about Pats this season. And again, I don't know it's because Now, again, I don't know how much the team is going to be reeling from the loss of Mulroney because obviously he didn't really feature much last season. But I think there is just something there's something concerning about like it wasn't just Mulroney leaving. I think like losing Brandon Cavan at the Drogheda was a shock to me, because I think
That
he
one
should
was
be.
that one was a shock.
Yeah. But then losing like the
Well,
likes of like McLaughlin and Soyberg, who are kind of like mainstays there for so long.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of churn in the Pats team when like realistically they would have rather sustain who they have. That being said, Max Mata in for Connor Carty is a huge fucking improvement.
Edmondson coming in as well
Yeah,
is an improvement. Nobody's going to replace Mason Mealy. You know, he missed out on the Golden Boot by a year. You know, he showed in flashes why Spurs paid
yes.
money for him.
And I will
But
say you're going to have a much better midfield this season now with Darren Nugent and Gloria Zingo.
yeah,
Um, Gloria Zingo, football manager favorite of mine personally, so I can endorse him. He is one of my boys, like Roman Essay, as Dave will tell you. But
Yeah.
I will say, like Darren Nugent is going to be absolutely brilliant for Pats. The one thing
perfect.
I will say about it is that if you fucking injure him early on, you're not getting him for the rest of the season. And I say that in the nicest possible way because Darren Nugent is an absolute workhorse of a midfielder.
Yeah,
He's not just a midfielder. You can play him at fullback, he'll do a job there. You can play him at centre back, and he'll do a full job there. He is just a fantastic all round footballer. But I look at how like you know how like Palmer does a lot of the defensive load for a Stephen Kenny Pats team,
yeah.
or sorry, Jamie Lennon, I should say, not
Anyone,
Palmer.
yeah,
Sorry. Lennon does a lot of
Yeah.
that kind of defensive like grunt at the moment, and like Lennon got overloaded very quickly.
yeah,
Darren Nugent is at that danger of doing the same thing. We're like, oh,
yes.
Darren Nugent knows how to screen midfield. Like, yeah, with someone fucking else. Like that's the whole idea. Like the reason why
Well,
Nugent works so well is because he has fucking Dylan Watts beside him. That's the whole point. The partnership. You
well, the
see close.
conversation that's been had on a lot of the Pats fans group is that there were two things needed this summer. Number one, to get rid of a lot of deadwood.
Yeah.
Okay, fair.
That there was a lot of poor attitude. Deadwood, Mulroney was highlighted as an example of it.
Okay.
That I don't think too many people were overly sad to see him go.
Mm.
And you look at fine. Personally, I would have kept Sjoberg. I absolutely think we need Sjoberg. He was always, you know, for me, he was always again 7 to 9 out of 10
A solid
performance.
fullback. He was a solid wing back
Yeah,
for us. Yeah.
yeah. Brandon Kavanagh was a bit of a shock, but again, when you've got Forrester, Palmer, Levy, they're all getting in ahead of him.
Yeah.
And what I did find was in the games that he did start, he didn't really take his chances.
Fair. Yeah. That's understandable. Yeah. Yeah.
No, he didn't take his chances. The surprise that stayed is Anto Breslin. I thought he would have gone.
There was talk of him moving to Rovers, but I don't think it ever
I'm
panned
also
out.
going to
Yeah.
Bowes. No, I believe he said he wants to stay and fight for the place. So if
Fair.
he
Okay.
does, let's see a better attitude from them.
Yeah.
Stephen Kenny himself said it at the end of last season that he got blinded by the season before, where they went on the 10 game run into Europe. Who outside chance at one point of maybe a league win when other teams were wobbling.
Yeah.
That he got blinded by that and said okay, and he felt almost a loyalty to the players who initially put them in the problem, and the same thing happened again this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's important that we start well.
It is. Absolutely. I
when
think
you
it's
look
like
at
beyond most, I think behind the majority of the teams in the league, Pat need to start well. Like they really, really do.
They're also a streaky team. If they go on a run, no team is going to fancy playing them on the run.
Yeah, exactly.
Or and conversely, as happened last year, if they're on the other side, the flip side of the run, teams will be lining up to play them.
Yeah, it's such a frustrating thing for Pats in a sense. Like they are such a confidence team.
Yeah.
And like a confidence team never really does well in the League of Ireland because you never really get a break in terms of fixtures. Like even for us, like even like I think in our first 5 games we're playing basically all of our Dublin rivals and Derry, who's probably our main title rival this season.
Yeah,
and they've already beaten us this season, the President's Cup. So we don't have a chance to fucking to lose confidence here. Like they have to hit the ground running. And Rovers, as we all know, are famously slow starters anyway. But that's
I don't know how like the resurgence of Rovers in the second half of the season has to be fucking studied at some
Oh no, I
point.
think it is. We finish our preseason later. That's what it is. It's
Yeah.
like the whole principle is that they get their like no right like in fairness, Steve Bradley has gone on record and saying this. Like they give the lads an extra week or two holidays after the Christmas, and then they bring them in then, and the training camp they have basically ends pretty much on the weekend of the Presidents Cup. So actually, Presidents Cup almost counts as part of the preseason, which is why like they don't necessarily feel a full team for it.
Yeah.
Like last season wasn't too bad. Well, I say it wasn't too bad. We weren't in the Presidents Cup, but we also had the games against Molde. All right, so it kind of like
It balanced out, yeah.
it balances out there.
Derry won it this year, didn't they? Derry won the.
Yeah, they won it this
Derry
year.
won,
Yeah. It was only 1-0. Yeah, but the thing is, I suppose like from that aspect of like we're always slow started because there's an intention to try and get the team to peak in the summer for Europe, and that like the club Rovers has always wanted to peak for Europe, and it's not something that the rest of the teams in that kind of European catchment does. I think Shells tried it last year and it kind of backfired on them a little bit because then they just went to do a tailspin. And then like by the time like the likes of like I think of always Bows and Derry always start strong in the league and then they fall off.
Yeah.
Like Derry are
Galway
famous
as
for
well.
falling off. Yeah.
Galway as well.
Yeah.
You look at it. You look at after the first round of matches, and Galway are up third, fourth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, speaking of then, so let's talk about the top five then. So Kieran, you mentioned it there. So you have Pats fifth and Bowes fourth, is that right? Or do you have it the other way around?
Other way around, more heart ruling head at this point.
Fair.
Again, I reserve the right to change judgments after this weekend when you sort of see.
And are you the same, Dave, as well? Are you?
Say again?
Are you Pat's fourth and Bowes fifth?
No, I'm Pat's third. No,
Pat's third.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry, fourth. Yeah, no, fourth. Yeah, because it was Shells, Rovers, and Derry top three.
Yeah,
Pat's
that's my
fourth.
top three. Yeah.
Okay.
Bowes fifth.
I have Shells as third.
I have Shells third as well.
They're definitely in that. Like they're in that. Like that top three is going to be so tight. I think this year, like it's going to be insane to watch.
Yeah.
I actually have Derry to win the league this year, and the reason I say that is like not necessarily out of like.
Ooh.
I like here's the thing with Derry, and again, you lads know this from watching the league so much.
Yes.
Derry are the quintessential shit or get off the pot team.
Yeah.
It's really frustrating. Like if I was a Derry City fan, I'd be fucking furious with this football team because now listen, Derry City, in fairness, their problem historically has always been their pitch, their stadium, and they no training facilities. So when like the Derry City team have to basically go across the fucking province in order to train, they don't do that anymore. They now train in the Derry GAA camp, which is absolutely fantastic. It's the best in the north, so they get to train there now instead, and it's only a stone's throw away from everyone where they're living, which is up in Belfast. So it's great. That's absolutely ideal for them. Now they're also doing a lot of work to the Brandywell, which is great. They're starting to relay a proper pitch, which they're doing over the summer, I believe. I think you might see a real uptake in them then over the summer. Might be, again, pardon the pun, might be a bit of a bedding in period, but that's fine. But ultimately, Tiernan Lynch is a very, very good coach. And I don't mind saying that about him in a sense. Like I think he had a lot of betting in periods last season, but you started to see signs of what this Derry City team can do, particularly when they were up against like the likes of like teams that were, shall we say, stylistically against them. So the likes of like teams that play fast, like Pats and Bows, they were able to bet in a little bit. Derry's mistake last season was that they were bought exclusively 30-year-olds. And really, really old players and players from like the Scottish leagues and the Welsh leagues and all this, that like this was their last cruise anyway. So, and spending cash money on them as well, I should say. Like they were they were throwing some serious money to players who like were saying, you might know the player I'm thinking of, Dave. It was he turned down the deal at Dundee to go to join Derry because he was getting a better contract. And stuff, and you hear stories like this going like, Jesus, like this fucking league is moving on fast.
So like I've said that before. Where sorry, go on, Kier.
But then they played them on a plastic pitch at that age with a history, probably with a history of injuries. There's a reason why they're not being kept on.
Yeah,
it's very hard to stay fit.
Yeah. Now, what I will say is that this season they have bought players to win the league. This is the thing. This is their push because
they have no choice at this stage.
They have no choice. Like you don't bring in James McClean if you don't intend to win the league this year with him lifting the title, and you don't bring in his brother either for the crack either. So so you have the Bob McClean brothers there.
2 years ago.
Yeah,
they should have won it 2 years ago when Shelburne had their big wobble, and it was almost as if Derry were matching result for result.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I think the Rory Higgins era was a waste opportunity as well. When you had the McElhaney's there just running ruckshot over
Yeah.
the fucking league, and it just never happened for them. The
Like
league,
James McClean's going to be mayor of Derry once he finishes football.
yeah. Oh no, there's no absolutely none of it. But I'm also looking at
Like-
I'm like okay, so James McClean is always going to get all the headlines, but I think the real star of this team this season is going to be James Clark, because
Yeah.
I was
What a
shocked to
name.
see him leave Bowes. And the reason I said it is because obviously we were looking at him as well, in fairness, because I think we were because it was either between him or Mulroney for that kind of like
Sure.
deputy to the Burke role in the team. And I would have said, geez, if we get Clark, I'll be fucking delighted, because he's a great footballer. And the problem with Bowes is the land of the number 10s. Like, you've got Devoy and Tierney, and like, now you have fucking Patrick Hickey, like, is presumably going to devour Dawson Devoy at some point because he's so fucking huge. But at the very least, like, Clark going to Derry means, okay, that is a player you recruit if you want to win the league. He is that good. He is that talented. He is that good a footballer that I cannot see why you should be able to beat him there. And then you get some really good young players in like Josh Thomas, and then again players that, like, if you can't beat them, join them with Darren Markey and all that. Like, these are serious players that they're bringing in. Like, this is a retool team, and like, the onus is on them to win the league. And again, Shamrock Rovers this year, the story is always the same. Is that, like, unfortunately, Europe is our priority at certain parts of the season. So we are going to try and get into Europe. And I know for a fact the target this season is the Europa League, not just the Conference League. We are aiming for the Europa League next.
You want to get Europa
League
League proper. Yeah.
And in order to do that, there is going to be some compromises. We're going to be using a lot of our squad, and hopefully everyone keeps fit. And Sean Kavanagh retiring is a help to that, because my guy that was permanently retired, like fucking semi-retired as it is. But at the very least, the recruitment has been very sensible, very targeted. But Jack Byrne coming back is huge. And like I said, I don't think Aaron McNev would have left unless Jack Byrne was coming back.
If Jack Byrne can
rediscover
behave himself, if he can discover a form and not be a gobshy, then I would give him a good run for 2026.
Yeah.
Chances of that happening are slim. We've all seen his attitude in the past. But if he can mature up a bit this season, at least try to mature up a bit this season on the pitch, I think Jack Byrne was talked about for so many years for a reason.
Yeah.
He's a really, really good player. Really good midfielder.
I do solemnly believe that, like, in Shamrock Rovers, we have the three technically best footballers in the country, which is Graham Burke, Jack Byrne, and Matt Healy. I'm
not a Rovers fan, but Graham Burke, my God, that guy is a pain in the arse of every side in the League of Ireland apart from Rovers.
But he like I said, Graham Burke's only problem was that his body hated him. That was really it. He did not, like, his first touch is perfect. His finishing is perfect. His movement is excellent. It's just his body basically every now and says, nope, we're not doing it today. Not happening. But
and with Jack Byrne, it's a personality that hates him. So.
Exactly, yeah. But again, it's the same thing. There's such huge egos at Shamrock Rovers, and what they have been able to do is try and balance it so well by being a centre of excellence. Like, the team are they are a team of winners, and they're a successful club for that reason.
If I was a Rovers man, I would dread Bradley leaving.
Yeah.
Whenever he does go, I think that transition's going to be scary for Rovers.
I genuinely believe that this is our last year with him, and I'm actually surprised to see that he's sticking around. But again, he said himself, he's in absolutely no rush to go. It is literally a case of, like, he wants to wait until the right opportunity. And I'd say, like, there could be teams in the English kind of league pyramid that are looking there, and they're all basket cases, and they're going like, oh yeah, no, this guy from, like, Lincoln every fucking year offers him the job. And, like, and it's the same thing as, like, you can keep calling, I'm not fucking answering. There was talk of Millwall were looking into him there 2 years ago.
Jesus
and that was a bit
Christ.
of a rumor, and even the Millwall fans shot him down because he was Irish. I was like, well, then you can fuck off too.
Which is funny, given, like, that's where most of the Republicans were in the 80s. Was like,
look, it's fucking Millwall fans.
Millwall, come on.
Side of London.
Look, listen, you're talking to fucking reform heads like Dave. They don't fucking know sense anyway, so it's fine.
I was going to say, on the outside chance any of them are listening, their two brain cells might actually not comprehend this.
Yeah, exactly. So, Kieran,
they don't understand what you're saying, Kieran. You use big words.
Yeah. I have Rovers and Derry as my top two, and again, it's a coin flip. If Rovers keep everybody fit, if they don't have a slump, and if they can get off to a better start than they have in the past, I think it's theirs to lose. If some of those don't happen, then Derry are the best place to take advantage.
Yeah.
When
Okay.
you look, as
Yeah.
you say, Derry have built a team to win the league. This has to be a lot of players' last shot to win the league.
Yeah.
It's a last
You
roll of the
know,
dice for them. It's a last roll of the
it
dice for
has
Derry
to
this
be,
year.
yeah.
There's a lot of money being thrown into Derry, the project of it as well. Like
Yeah.
more money than
Yes.
even Rovers, I would say, just like in terms of private money. So
Yeah.
there is a
At some
genuine effort
point,
to
you
grind
have
it
to
Derry to
show
win the league.
something like a
Yeah.
cup final defeat to a playoff Trenton Drogheda.
That was a hammer blow, and I was there in the stadium for that.
Yeah.
Like when
That
I
was
tell you,
crazy.
And
but you
that's
know,
after
it
you.
really wasn't, Dave. Like being there in the stadium for it, what really happened was a complete and total deer in the lights moment from Derry, because what happened was they walked into that match expecting to lose. Like they believed the
Wow.
hype of thinking like Jesus, they're like Drogheda, you know, their backs against the wall, they've
Yeah.
got nothing to lose type of thing. What about us? We got everything to lose type of shit. It's like, no, you don't. Like you're a
Wow.
substantially better football team, but their heads weren't in
They
it. They
also got
just
sucked
got spooked.
into. They also got sucked into the match Drogheda wanted,
Yes,
and
and that's what Droghed's big strength is
and
like
that's the big thing that
yeah.
I noticed that Pats fell for that last year in the games I watched.
Mm,
They
Yeah.
got sucked into the games technically lesser teams wanted. They
yeah,
tried to get they tried to get physical with Galway, tried to get
Yeah.
physical with Waterford, didn't adapt to we're better, we're a better team than this.
yeah.
And just got sucked in, and then they couldn't break out. I think the big example of that was the cup final against Cork.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Absolutely. Like I said, that was a semi final where again watching it live, thinking like Pats have these lads like dead to right, and then suddenly oh shit, and it was just it's
Although the
losing
goal
control
goes
for those
in,
4 minutes or something, you know.
yeah, it's like, and that happened against Galway. You get back, Galway go 2-0 up at home early in the season. Yeah, fine, that happens. You
Yeah.
get to go back, and you're going, okay, now we can put our foot on it. A minute
Mm.
later, and then goes walkabout.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So there you go, lads. This is like so. I'm gonna put the league tables up on screen here of our predictions, and it's a nice eclectic mix. It's a bit of variance, but we all kind of have the same kind of ballpark region.
I
But
think
it's
there's
nice to
3
see that we've
leagues this
all
year.
picked 3 different champions. Though that's what I find
Yeah.
very intriguing, and for all the various different reasons. Me even being a pessimist, Kieran also being a pessimist, and they've been an eternal optimist, which is a great balance to have.
What I find interesting is that all 3 of us sort of agree there's 3 mini leagues going on as well.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
There's 1,
Yeah.
2, 3, then there's the best of the rest, and then you've got
And then you've got your relegation
bottom,
battlers.
you've got your bottom 4 relegation battle.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
of those 3 mini leagues, there's not a lot between any of the teams in there.
There really isn't. Again, I have Bows down as on fourth on my table, but again, if they have a horrendous like start or a middle, they're 7th or 8th. Like there's
Yeah.
no points variance between them. Like
Mhm.
it's so close. Okay, so we'll wrap up this League of Ireland segment by doing what I call the Electricity Men 11, because there's no point doing winning 11 because I didn't have time. So
Fair.
we're gonna go trawling through the archives here, because again, lads, like if you're as terminally online as we are, you are aware of the phenomenon as the Barclays Men. Just getting a compilation
Yep.
of a footballer, like your placeholders, JJ Okocha, the eternal Barclays Men. And just get a compilation of him, wallow in his absolute joy, and just go from there. So I'm gonna invite the lads here to try and make an Electricity Men 11. Just those names that just like put you into that vibe again. Could be from any era, just whatever. Like I've done a 4-4-2 here, so we're gonna go like basically down by positions and go from there. So I'm not necessarily asking for the best 11, but just like when I give you a position, you tell me the first thing that comes to your mind, right?
Right.
And
Okay.
again,
I might struggle with this one, but I'm gonna.
Yeah, same.
well,
I'll
I'm
give it a
really-
I'm gonna try out some names for you in the meantime, right? Because I'm going by also like all-time best appearances and all that jazz. So
Yeah, because I've
let's
got
start off
2.
with yeah.
I've got 2. Right.
Well,
so
what's your 2 then? Starting off and go from there.
My 2 is gonna be Conan Byrne.
Conan.
That was gonna be my one. Damn it.
Conan Byrne and Gary Twigg are my 2.
Gary Twigg. Okay, right. So you got Gary Twigg as a shout, and Conan Byrne as another one. Right.
I've got Chrissy Fagan in there.
Yes.
Chrissy Fagan's a good one as well. He's a okay. So we might already have our striker sorted at this stage.
Yeah.
It was Conan Byrne, you said, Dave, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, grand. Because I was gonna say, so the two I had was Joseph and Doe.
Yeah.
Yes. Get him in there.
And go back to the conversation that we had earlier about the LOITV.
Yeah.
Joseph and Doe being pundit, and I think that's also a huge benefit for LOITV that you have, a personality with some of the pundits on there.
Yeah, 100%.
Compared to maybe some of the, it's fashionable to do, but picking on Neville and Carragher on Sky, who you know are reading off a script 90% of the time.
Yeah. And my like I think the eternal electricity man, the man who's like won the league more than anyone else, Sean Gannon, is my other pick as well.
Yes. I'm gonna go with centre back here in a really outside shot. Right? Brian Shelley.
Say again?
Brian Shelley.
Brian Shelley. Jeez, I haven't heard that name in a while.
Centre half, played for 3 clubs in the League of Ireland and bossed it.
Okay,
made over 50 appearances for each club. It wasn't just like season after season after season. Like, was in the league for 6 years during the prime electricity league years, like late 2000s. Like,
no, that's good. That's good. That's a proper pick. That is right. So we'll go with goalkeeper to start off then. So who's your first pick goalkeeper?
Oh.
I'll throw out a few names for you here, right?
You have to go Clark. To be honest, you have to go Clark, don't you, for his longevity? Almost.
Brendan Clark or Gary Rogers were on my mind.
Rogers, yeah. Fair.
There was a Shepherd for Dundalk as well.
There was a Shepherd. It was Carl Shepherd played for us. I can't remember the guy's name. It'll come up to me. I've only seen him recently, but yes, I know you're one you're talking about. I think he was Welsh or something like that. But yeah, so we have a choice between Rogers, Brendan Clark. I could offer you Barry Ryan as another possible pick as well.
Barry Ryan, good show, yeah.
Again, for something like that. Michael Devine, possibly, if you're that way inclined.
That's the thing, like, goalkeepers during that SSE era were very... They weren't well remembered.
No.
I feel bad for them, but they weren't well remembered.
No, because it was part-time, so, and if you're paying big money, you're not paying big money, fallacy, sunk cost fallacy as it is, you're not paying big money for a goalkeeper.
No, that's it.
Much and all as it doesn't make sense as a member of Goalkeepers Union.
Fair.
This is true.
I'm gonna go with your first choice for the longevity.
Brendan Clark?
Yeah, Brendan Clark. I'm gonna go Brendan Clark.
Yeah. I would have said Barry Murphy as well if it would have been another shout.
Yeah.
Okay, so Brendan Clark is our goalkeeper then. So let's talk about our centre backs then. So you went for Brian Shelley, Dave. So we'll pick him.
Yeah.
Taking Birmingham again
for your left back.
Well, Birmingham played centre, but no, he was left back. You're right. Who else?
Owen Heary has it. Owen Heary or Alan McAnally, surely.
Yeah.
Like Owen Heary was around for like fucking donkey's years. Like I think he was I know he was mostly balls, but like my God, he was like there for like 15, 20 years. Like
fair.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go with that. We'll go with Owen Heary then. And we say Ian Birmingham for left back.
Yeah.
Good
show.
Okay.
You had Sean Gannon in there as a right back, hadn't you?
Sean Gannon, yeah. So that's our back line already sorted. Birmingham, Shelley, Heary, and Sean Gannon.
For the midfield,
Ronan Finn.
Yeah.
Surely.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw out a big name here. Now, this is a name that I'm saying again because he's had such a long career in the league, and I would say big impact is Jason Bourne.
Jason Bourne, like he would be one of our striking options, I'd say.
He's a wide man, isn't he? Or was he?
Ish. I think he used to. I always knew Jason Bourne as a number 9, but again, like Keith Fahey. 4-4-2s. Yeah. Oh, Keith Fahey is a good one.
Yeah.
Keith Fahey.
Where's Houlihan, lads?
Yeah.
Yes. The enigma.
Fucking hell. All right, we have some choices here. We have some choices.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough one.
Really do.
All right, I think we can make this work. Right. So we can go with Ronan Finn. We have then Joseph and Doe.
Yeah.
And then we have a choice then if you have Wes Houlihan or Keith Fahey to finish the midfield. So Finn, used to play everywhere, but Ronan Finn for me has always been like a right midfielder, and then in modern days, then he used to be a wing back and then a number 6. So, so basically someone to partner Joseph and Doe in the core of midfield is what I would say. So it'd be either Fahey or Wes Houlihan.
Let's go with Wes.
We'll go Ezzy.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
We'll go with Wesy. We'll go with Wesy.
All right then. And now here's the fucking tricky bit: is picking the strikers. So, and I'll be honest with you, this is old electricity was all strikers for me. I'll throw out some fucking names here. We got Gary
I'll
Twigg, we
go.
got Christy
Yeah, go
Fagan,
on.
we've got Glenn Crowe,
Yep.
Yeah, big one. That's a big name. Yeah, twice.
Jason
Patrick
Byrne,
Cuban,
Won the Player of the Year
Patrick
twice, I
Cooper's a
suppose.
good one. Yeah.
Patrick Cooper,
Morton
yeah.
Patterson.
Fucking Mark Quigley.
Yep.
Mark Quigley's another one.
I completely missed the name. I'm going back to Pat's here. Paul Awesome.
Awesome.
Midfield,
Jesus.
yeah.
Yeah. Fuck. Forgot about him as well. Jesus.
Now
I
he's
had
kind
him
of a
slightly earlier than
utility man.
Electricity, though. I had him slightly earlier than Electricity.
No, fair, yeah. He's not.
Yeah, I was.
Really
I was thinking about him, and I was also thinking about Gormley. But but again, I had them.
He was Aircom, wasn't he? He was Aircom League.
Yeah, I would have had him in the earlier generation.
Declan O'Brien.
Ooh.
That's a bit of a deep cut. That one. Dinny Corcoran.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dinny Corcoran just pop up everywhere. It's like every season. And Dinny Corcoran for this year is playing with Bulls.
You have here's a mad one, Jonathan. This one's a kind of Rovers one for you. He was in out of the league. It's Eamon
Zayed. Oh, the sporting. Do you know what? It wouldn't feel right unless we didn't have a Sporting Fingal player in this, wouldn't it? Like Rafael Cartaro. Can we find?
Oh, go on.
Can we find Rafael Cartaro at home here? Fucking hell, we have so many choices here. Right, we have to pick two strikers. My personal pick would be Glenn Crowe.
Yeah.
For what it's worth. Because I think like he is a player that made sense in the Electricity League and fucking nowhere else. Like build wise, he looked like if someone melted Ricky Lambert.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like, and again, Ricky Lambert probably is being melted as we speak. So like it's
either him or Mark. When you look at like a League of Ireland's the only places to see, you probably put Mark Farron in that.
Farron's a good shout too, actually. Yeah.
That bracket where.
Huh? How about Gary Twigg?
Oh, Gary Twig's just League of Ireland legend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not three straight, but three top scorers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to be fair, big man, small man, that works out really well. Like I'd buy that for $1. So here's your electricity like 10-11. Brendan Clark in goal. Birmingham, Gannon, Shelley, Owen Heary back four. Your midfield in the pockets are Joseph and Doe and Wes Houlihan. And then out in the wings, Conan Byrne and Ronan Finn. And up front, Glenn Crowe and Gary Twigg.
And then on the bench, then who have you got on the bench? Chrissy Fagan, Patrick Hooban, Mark Quigley. It's like, to hell with shutting up shop. We're just going to go and score another 5.
Fucking if I'm going really old school, I'm bringing in fucking Killian Brennan.
Yeah.
Wow.
Why have we not?
If I win the lottery, this is happening. This charity match is happening.
Ollie Cahill. There's another one for you. Fucking absolute like a rat in every camp. Chris Forrester would be up there, surely, wouldn't he? Like
again, I'd have him slightly. I'd have him slightly later. I'd have him in the SSE era rather than
fair. That's fair. Yeah. Fucking if we're doing sub benches, then I suppose Gary Rogers is our backup goalkeeper. I'd have to say Alan McNally for our centre back.
We have one centre back. We're allowed one defender and one goalkeeper. The rest are all attackers. Come on.
To be fair, that was the style at the time.
That was
based on the league at the time.
Would we have a conversation for either Chris Shields or Robbie Benson? Actually, you know what? If I'm being patriotic here, if I'm picking a Rovers player, I'm picking Gary McCabe. Who else? We got Simon. There's a few names. Keith Ward, lads.
Have we not put Alan Manis in with the electricity crowd?
Yeah, Manis is not a bad shout either, in fairness. But I always considered him more like the Irish League, as in like Northern Irish League as well. Like he would have been kind of popping around elsewhere. Like lads, for the game against for the goal against Spurs, fucking Stephen Rice.
Yes, Stephen
Carl
Rice.
Shepherd, that's another one. Barry McNamee.
Yeah.
The McElhaney's as well. I don't know. That's two.
Gary Deegan.
Yeah.
Gary Deegan is a good shout.
Gary Deegan.
Okay, there's a few shouts there. Honestly, pick your own benches, lads, if you're listening at home, but feel fucking free. We've given
Yeah,
you
I
plenty of
think
options there.
I think
But
you nailed it with Rafael Cartaro. That was the best call out ever.
Yeah,
he's naive though.
Rafa
I would
Katari and Eamon
say
Zayed. That's our
Rafael
they're our
Cartaro.
ambassadors of the team here. Right, we have to pick the manager. Who's the manager? Has to be Ollie Horgan.
yeah,
I'm not going with anyone else.
Yeah,
yeah.
Ollie Horgan is the manager there, 100%. Yeah, so there you go. That's our League of Ireland like preview and I guess like review of the fucking 11 is to go into the goal boy. They're probably average age of like 46 at this stage, but here we are. And the other weird thing is, not one of them have ended up fucking managing in the league. Isn't that hilarious, isn't it? Like, it just never follows the kind of form
Yep.
guide. I mean, I guess technically Ronan Finn's the closest, being sporting director, but I don't know. I think we'll have to wait a while until Joseph Indo takes his like intrepid Sligo Rovers team to a three in a row. One can only hope. Great commentator though, I'd
And
say.
does commentary at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
He's
To
commentating
inspire his team.
he's commentating on the last game.
I would.
I'm looking
good-
I'm looking at the notable former players because you mentioned Sporting Fingal. I'm looking at Jim Crawford, Alan Kirby, Shane McFall, Robbie Doyle,
Robbie
Barry
Doyle. Yeah.
Ferguson, Ger O'Brien, Ronan Finn.
Yep.
Gerald
Yeah.
Bryan there.
Well,
yeah.
I said we have our finger representation then with Ronan Finn,
Yeah.
so that takes that box.
Robbie Doyle. Oof.
Yeah. It really was like the Sporting Fingal really was the fucking Celtic Tiger team, wasn't it? Like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
Jesus
Make
Christ,
Europe
like,
then go bust.
yeah,
Yep.
that's it. Should have just called it a fucking. They should have had the Bertie Bowl. Fuck the Aviva.
Oh, could you imagine? Estadio Fingal
Like, Stadio Fingal, exactly. The Sand Fingal. Sand Fingal.
and Fingal.
So with that in mind, we thought we'd wrap up the show then by actually taking the attention not back to England because let's be honest, we're going to be talking about the Premier League a fucking lot over the next couple of episodes. But I thought we'd take it up north of the border, as it were. Again, not the Irish League. I'm sorry, but it just nothing happens up there. But we're actually talking about the Scottish Premier League for this one because we have Dave on, and Dave, you do obviously live that up yonder, if we can say so. And usually, like most Scottish kind of like football seasons, tend to take one of two flavors. One is that Celtic wins, or two Rangers wins. But this season, weirdly enough, Scottish football like is having a very weird situation where like I think I'm not like I'm being controversial in saying here is that it's probably the worst they performed on a European level in a very, very long time.
Yeah.
There is a distinct lack of quality amongst all the teams, and that has been reflected by their adventures in Europe. Celtic crashed out of the Champions League, as we know, with Brendan Rodgers leaving as a result. Rangers, I don't think even remotely got close to the Champions League, even at the first time of asking, and ended up landing in the conference in the Europa League, and then failing to qualify from it after the games in the league phase. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Hibs and St. Johnstone also failed to qualify for Europe, and Aberdeen were bottom of the Conference League.
Yeah.
So it's been an unmitigated disaster for Scottish football this season, from a quality standpoint. But the kind of good fortune of that is that it's also given us a fascinating title race because Celtic have been a disaster zone between managerial sackings, bringing in Wilfred Nancy for a few weeks and then letting him go again, bringing like now solely reliant on Martin O'Neill to try and basically deliver a token league title. You have Rangers then, who obviously had their kind of drama with Philip Clement earlier in the year, and then he's been replaced with Danny Roll, who seems to be doing a pretty decent job, all things considered. He's jumped from one basket case to the other, God love him. But throughout all this, we've had Hearts top of the table, and objectively probably the best team in the league at this moment. And obviously, the inertia of being a team not in Glasgow will probably pull them back into the title race in the end. But at time of recording, they are still 3 points ahead of Rangers and likely Celtic, because Celtic's game was abandoned today against Aberdeen. Now, you have an affiliation with Hibs. So you're on the other side of the Edinburgh camp. So how galling is it that like you there is a distinct possibility that not only might have to live with a Celtic or Rangers title win like you do every year, but there is a distinct possibility that Hearts might win this year. And what would it mean to English football or to Scottish football generally to have the minion broken between the Glasgow clubs?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about that, and I mean I think I can see the silver lining of it that. Hearts winning the league is big for the city. You kind of have to put your rivalry aside and say, look, Celtic and Rangers, It's every year. Nobody's done it since Fergie's Aberdeen. We all know that.
Yeah.
We see that. We feel it every single season. It's getting to the point now where you just kind of don't even think about the Glasgow clubs anymore. They're doing what they're doing in Europe, and then everyone else focuses on the league, and you kind of look from third place down.
Yeah.
That's kind of mentality you have to be in with the Scottish League, otherwise it'll just fucking drive you into the ground. With Hearts winning the league, yes, it would be a detriment to me and to my fellow Hibs fans, and we'd never hear the end of it. We get that. But to have an Edinburgh club win it and break that, that kind of run that's been going since the 80s, pretty big deal. And you look, take nothing away from Hearts. They've done it very, very smart. They brought in a manager in Derek McInnes, who Hibs fans who've been wanting in the dugout for a long, long time. And they brought in Derek McInnes, who knows the league, who knows Scottish football inside and out, who's worked in Scottish football for many, many years. He did amazing things at Aberdeen.
I was going to say, he go on a similar run last season with
yeah.
Aberdeen, and then they fell off, didn't they?
So he was with Kilmarnock and got them up to the Premiership after they went down. And then, stuck at it, and he stayed around the Premiership. And when Hearts got him, I thought, oh, shit, he's going to do well there. But the recruitment has been so smart. That's one thing I will give Hearts. Their recruitment of some players has been so smart because they've used the analysis. I think it was is it they have Tom Bloom?
Yeah, it's Tony Bloom's company, isn't it?
Tony Bloom,
Analytics,
yeah. Yeah. So they have them on board, and we all know what they're like with analytics and football, and they've utilized that to the best of their abilities. And you only have to kind of go as far as looking at Vargas and Shanklin. Keeping a hold of Shanklin was important for this season, because if they look away from, if they had lost Lawrence Shanklin, I don't think they would be where they kind of are this season, because obviously it's their captain, and it's not Vargas, something, it was Claudio Braga I'm thinking of. I think Vargas was there last season.
Yes,
but they just have a great mix of experience in Scottish football. Players like Benny Beningame have been there, Stephen Kingsley, Craig Halkett. They've already, and Craig Gordon as well, who doing amazing for someone who's 41, 42. These players have been around the Scottish League for so long. They know how it works. They know how it's done. Combine that with the likes of Neuenhoff has come in, the Australian guy, Claudio Braga, Kabore, the Norwegian lad, Borsch-Grevink, who they brought in. Then you have Cammy Devlin, who's there. They brought like an international flavour, which a lot of Scottish clubs have.
Yeah.
I think Hibs have like 6 African nations in their starting 11 tonight or something like that.
And of course, Celtic have to have massive, Japanese contingent.
Yeah,
as well.
they have that Japanese contingent.
Yeah.
So there's definitely like an international flavour in the Scottish teams this season, more so than ever. But I think Hearts have done it right. They've found the right balance of experience and new talent coming in. They've a manager who knows the league inside and out, and using that analytical ability that they've got at their midst, they can use that for whatever they want. It's come into this blend of defense. Defensively they've been sound. Going forward, they've been great. The midfield is balanced. If anyone's going to do it, it has to be them this year, because if they can't do it, no one else is going to do it. Last night was a big dent, losing to St. Mirren. I think Halka got sent off early on as well, but I heard it was a harsh red card, which is unfortunate. But to lose to St. Mirren last night kind of puts a spanner in the plan. Now they're pulled back into that title race rather than staying that 6 points ahead.
Yeah.
But look, the bottom line is, if they win it, I'm a Hibs fan through and through, a hardcore Hibs fan. But to see an Edinburgh club do it over Glasgow, I suppose there's something to be said about that.
So you were talking about the significance there, obviously, for what it means for the city, and obviously it'll be huge for Edinburgh. Like, I've been to Edinburgh myself. Like, it's a football city. It goes without saying, but in a weird way, it's not as sectarian as the Glasgow teams are, in a sense where like you have to. It's almost like there's a partition between the two football like clans in that sense. But I suppose there's 2 angles I was kind of wanted to approach you with, Dave, and see what you thought about it. Like, the first one was, obviously, if we are living in the hypothetical of Hearts winning the league, And you mentioned obviously my kind of first prong of attack there was the recruitment and the contact with Tony Bloom and
Yeah.
the being overall in the kind of the Brighton sphere, if you like.
Mhm.
How much do you think that has been the major factor in Hearts doing so well? Or is it more to do with the fact that Celtic and Rangers have had generationally bad seasons? And realistically speaking, like this has been kind of on the cards for a while. Because again, I use Europe as the kind of comparison here. Like Scottish teams have been doing like progressively worse in Europe. Celtic were a
Yeah.
bit of a like an aberration last year by doing so
Yeah,
well, doing
the
okay in the
bubble
Champions League.
burst. The
Yeah,
bubble burst. There was a bubble of Celtic and Rangers. Rangers not too long ago were in the Europa League final against Eintracht Frankfurt. We're talking about these Scottish teams who were in champions, European finals
yeah,
not too long ago.
mm,
That's not that far ago. And Celtic going the distance as well out of the group stage.
yeah,
And you kind of look at that and go, how, that's when the bubble burst. That was the peak.
mm.
The Giovanni Verbronkhorst final against Frankfurt was that kind of Scottish peak in Europe.
So what do you think has
Since
changed?
then,
Has it
the
been
board, it's
like
been
just a lack of coaching or players or what is it like?
it's a complete separation between fans and the people who lead the clubs. When it comes to Celtic, Rodgers left for a reason.
Mm,
Rodgers left for a reason, and a lot of former Celtic players and pundits have come out and said this. The board have kind of put two fingers to the fans.
mm,
All you do is complain. We're not going to listen to you anymore. Fans are outraged with the lack of signings, the lack of backing for Rodgers. Obviously, we got two sides to that coin. They had an AGM that had to be cut short,
yes, by
which they
Dermot Evans' son, I
stupidly
believe. Yeah,
decided to live stream online. Again, call it ego or vanity or whatever you want to call it. And they have a board in place, some of which really don't get football,
mm,
Scottish football in general. So, look, I think the reason that we had Wilfried Nancy fail was because the players were playing for Martin O'Neill.
yeah,
Martin had come out and said he kind of wanted another couple of games. He came out and said that publicly on television. So that tells me that the players wanted to play for Martin.
yeah.
Who's this guy they're getting in? No, we don't want to play for you. We want to play for Martin. So they get rid of him after 4 weeks and bring Martin O'Neill back in, and they're winning again.
Mm,
So it's almost like there's three tiers of the board, the team and management, and the fans. And none of them are on the same level. They're all so far apart now that
yeah,
it's going to take a couple of seasons to bring that mesh back together. Rangers have had a shitstorm for 3 years now,
yeah.
where managers have failed, players have failed. They've not, it's funny with Rangers. It's like, oh, if we don't win the league, it's detrimental,
Mm,
and they have that almost entitlement about them. I'm not a fan of Rangers Football Club at all, and I'll put on record I've been fined by the SFA for tweets that I've put out towards Rangers Football Club. Officially, I was fined.
yeah.
Because I hate the hardcore fan base. Yeah, the Rangers hardcore fan base are just horrible people. But that club has a serious problem with delusion and entitlement,
Mm,
where if they don't win the league, it's we've failed. I'm like, you do realize you're building yourself back up, right? Like it comes in stages. You can't just go straight back to the top.
yeah.
You can't do that. It's a lack of money as well. The money isn't always going to be there. The Europa League money is gone now. That's been used from the
But
final.
that was
We got
my other
far.
kind of question was that like it like obviously the stuff with kind of Celtic like there obviously was a
Yeah.
kind of a financial angle to the kind of
Yeah.
the uproar in shall we say the civil war between
Yeah.
the Celtic kind of like hierarchy and the fan base. Like obviously Champions League money is great and all that, but they're not been able to get Champions League money every year. So is it the case where
Yeah.
like once they're get like is the basically it seems to be obvious the club is budgeted for the Champions
Yeah.
League and if they don't get it they're kind of screwed. But they're
Yeah,
not a good
so
selling club either. Is that's also a
it's
big part of it problem, isn't
yeah.
it?
So it's a weird one. The Celtic and Rangers are polar opposites. Rangers don't have the money to invest
Mm,
without Europe. Celtic have the money and don't want to use it.
okay.
Celtic made a record revenue of £80 million
Mm,
last year. 80 million. Regardless of whether they crashed out of Champions League or not, or out of Europe or not,
Yeah.
they have the revenue there to put in. If you put 25 million into the player budget, that's not even half of what they've made in revenue. The players you can get with that is insane.
Yeah.
Now, they've had Engels, they had a bid for Engels of what, 25 million yesterday?
For Forest, I think it was. Yeah. I
For
remember
Forest?
that. Yeah.
Sell him.
Yeah.
That can
Pure
fund
profit.
your team for 2 seasons, And it's a shame that Rogers left because the Japanese contingent of Ryo Hatate, Daisen Maeda, Kyogo Furuhashi were absolutely lethal. I loved it. Now, I'm not a Celtic fan.
Yeah.
I'm not a Celtic fan at all by any means or any shape. I hate both Glasgow clubs equally. I'd like to put on record. But watching the Japanese contingent at Celtic during those Rogers years was insane. It was so good. The football was brilliant. But again, the bubble burst last season. When Rogers walked and Rangers had that horror. I can't even remember who the manager was.
Well, it would have been Ange, would have been. Well, or is this? Oh, you mean after Rogers left
Rangers.
the first time? Rangers would have been Philip Clement, wasn't it?
No, after that.
Oh, now that's a trivia question.
See, you can't even remember him because he was a shambles.
Barry Ferguson?
No, it was after him.
Okay.
He was an English guy.
Russell Martin.
Russell
Martin. I said
Martin.
Philip Clement earlier on. I do apologize. It's actually Russell Martin I was thinking of. Not Philip Clement at all. Now, Clement was the year before.
Yeah. Goes to show how much of an impact he had on Rangers.
Clearly. Oh my goodness! I actually think I scrubbed him from my memory. That's why I thought of Clement because
Russell Martin reminds me of Paul Heckenbottom at Hibs. The guy put on a PowerPoint that sold everyone in the room.
Yeah.
But when it came to executing that presentation, it failed massively.
Well, if I remember correctly, wasn't the reason why the Rangers fans didn't like him was because aesthetically he wasn't the Rangers man? Like he refused to wear. Because Rangers
the funny thing.
Yeah.
Here's the funny thing about that. They didn't like Russell Martin because he wasn't the board's first choice.
Yeah.
There was someone bigger and better who they were supposed to be bringing in and said, no, we're going to take Martin instead. He was already the enemy before he even got the job.
Yeah, this is true, yeah.
And that to me just says it all about Rangers. Like the guy's coming in to do a job, and before he even gets to the door, the fans are like, "No, what about the other guy?"
Yeah.
How you can't come back from that?
No, that's
how do you fight against that? You know what I mean? It's crazy, but yeah. Look, 5-1 win over Kilmarnock tonight, but to be fair, Kilmarnock are on a bit of a downward spiral.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a big dearth and difference there between
the big gap in Kilmarnock. McInnes was there beating Celtic in cup competitions, and they're getting results against all the Glasgow too. Kilmarnock, McInnes was. This is what I'm saying. Like, when he was at Kilmarnock, Derek McInnes was getting results against the Glasgow team.
Yeah,
now he's with Hearts with a better budget and a better team. Now he's top of the bloody league. You see, there's a pattern there with Derek McInnes. He did it with Aberdeen as well when he pushed the two of them as far as he could go. So when you talk about Derek McInnes, it's not just Hearts are top of the league because Celtic and Rangers are bad. Yes, that is a contributing factor, but the bottom line is Hearts are where they are because of the man they brought in Derek McInnes.
Yeah,
because he has taken Scottish teams consistently as far as they can go. With Kilmarnock, with Aberdeen, he has taken them as far as they go. I'm a big fan of Derek McInnes. I was gutted that you never came to Hibs, but it goes to show why Hearts are where they are. He's a phenomenal manager in Scottish football, and he'll probably go down as one of the best in the last 20 years, easy.
But I'm glad you kind of you put a spot on Derek McInnes there because my question was regarding Hearts was obviously we have this kind of Brighton connection, and I think a lot of people have been kind of using that as a stick to beat Hearts with in that respect. Whereas Hearts wouldn't have been in the position they are if they did not have access to Brighton's top tier elite level of recruitment. And again, it's funny if we were talking about the Irish League in the first bit of the show because Shells have that same kind of contact with Jamestown as well, not to the same extent, but they've been able to kind of to consult.
They've
with
leaned
them
on it a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
I suppose it's a case of, why wouldn't you want it? I mean, it's just a case of if it's there, you use it.
It's one of the parts of the job.
Hearts have isn't it? Grabbed it and they're gonna milk it till it's gone. And I think it's a big contributing factor. I think it's a game changer for them. It's what got them to where they are now.
Yeah, so that was actually what I was going to ask you about.
McInnes is just it's phenomenal.
Because I was gonna because obviously like Hibs also would have like not I would say a direct connection, but they have a tangential connection then to Bournemouth, and Bournemouth
Not
also
anymore.
have not anymore, but
Not anymore.
okay,
That kind of fizzled out beginning of this season. I think
okay,
they were looking to offload their shares. I just don't think it worked out. But there's a new potential American backer coming in now. Rumors of it anyway,
mm,
of a potential takeover of the club. With Hibs, it's a tough one because obviously this is the 10-year anniversary of winning the Scottish Cup in 2016.
yeah,
It's the 150th anniversary of the club. But I think the club has invested too much in kind of like we've had our moment with the 2016 Scottish Cup.
yeah,
We need to let it go, and we're still hanging on to that with David Gray in the dugout. He's a great coach. He's outlasted more managers than I can imagine,
yeah,
and there's a reason he's been kept there. But he's such an up and down, inconsistent manager when it comes to Hibs. I mean,
mm,
we've conceded far too many goals under David Gray at the moment, and in his tenure, way too many goals,
mm,
and we've not scored anywhere near enough to kind of match that. So I think we're stuck in mid-table mediocrity at the minute
okay,
with Hibs, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. I mean, we brought in 6 players this January transfer window. Junior Hoylett's gone out the door. Dylan Levitt's gone out the door.
and Kieran Bowie's gone, isn't he?
Kieran Bowie's gone out. Getting
Yeah,
record fee 2.5 billion or something like that across to Hellas Verona in Italy. I think again the Italian league are looking at Scottish players because of the success of Billy Gilmore and Scott McTominay.
and Lewis
Um,
Ferguson, of course, yeah,
and
with
Liam Henderson, Lewis
yeah,
Ferguson, and Liam Henderson at Empoli at one time as well. Now he's at
mm,
Sampdoria, another Scottish Cup hero for Hibs as well.
yeah,
But I think the success of Scottish players in Italy is starting to really attract teams, and I think that's why Kieran Bowie's gone there.
mm,
He didn't last long at Hibs, but there's a reason for that. Sometimes when players are good enough, they're good enough, and they go. But he's brought in Felix Passlack. That
you weren't
that was
expecting
a
that
big
one
one
now,
for
I'll be
me.
honest. That was
No,
no,
no, that was not on my bingo card for January transfer window. But to bring in a player that of that experience and that physicality, and I'm like, yes, okay, now you're making the signings that I want to see.
that's a
We
very
did,
Scottish Premier League transfer as
yeah,
well.
it,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
really is. But I mean, we won tonight against Dundee United 3-2, 94th minute goal. But a lot of that starting lineup was the players that were brought in a couple of days ago.
yeah,
So you need time for them to gel. But if they can get a win over Dundee United with a 94th minute goal, and
mm,
this team's not even thrown together in the last few days, uh, it bodes well for the next 4 months, really. If they
mm.
can gel and do well together, and they brought in a couple of players on loan as well from the English leagues, and
Have
yeah, I mean
you
the
got high
record
hopes for Owen
signing
Elding?
Owen Elding, if he, yeah, a big hopes for him on the bench tonight. He's a young lad. There's a ton of potential there.
Yeah,
The biggest problem for me was we paid 1.5 million for Thibaut Clegia,
mm,
and he's gone out on loan for the rest of the season.
right. That's
Our
not
record signing 1.5 million pounds,
Jesus.
and they've sent him out on loan in January and got him in the summer. So that doesn't say to me we're recruiting all that well, because a record signing has only lasted 6 months.
Yeah,
Jesus
that's
Christ,
not ideal. That's far from ideal.
that's terrible.
Yeah,
So who's doing the recruiting? Who's doing the analysis?
yeah.
I understand we always want to try and compete with Hearts and keep up with it. We're never going to get Tony Bloom's analytics. We're never going to have that.
Well, it goes to the point, like you need a plan, and sometimes
Yeah.
it is like again, like you can I reckon if you like the best example you can have is probably the Hibs women's side, who were able to kind of like
Yeah,
break their
look.
own curse and get there themselves.
Yeah, look, I will honestly say that the last game of the season last season was one of my best moments in football. Full stop.
We were watching it; was unbelievable. Like,
To when you're in women's football in Scotland, you're not only competing with 2 Glasgow teams, you're competing with 3 Glasgow teams. And it makes it 10 times harder because you've City, you got Celtic, and you've got Rangers. Glasgow City, we ended a 10-year run of league titles
yeah,
with Glasgow City. You know what I mean? The Glasgow dominance was 18 years
yeah,
solid. City, Rangers, and Celtic.
mm,
Dominance for 18 years. And we came along last season because there was just that never say die attitude with the team.
Yeah.
And to do it at Ibrox at the last game of the season there's nothing better than that.
Yeah.
There is nothing better than that. We all went back to the stadium and we celebrated for hours. We all got our pictures taken with a trophy in the middle of the pitch. We all did. We all had the best day ever. And it's like, no, that's the peak, because Grant got picked up then in December by Celtic. He's now managing Celtic, which is a big blow for us. Kind of happened very under the radar. So we were told last second. We were all kind of like a little pissed off and a little annoyed. But then we knew Joel would step into the role. Straight away we knew. It was like, there is no one else. You know, that Joel is quintessentially the Mrs. Hibbs. There is no one else. Entire career at the club from, I think it was 2006, I think. You know,
as it says, even just the kind of the quieting those people, the kind of discontent about losing your manager so late as well. Like, at least that's like just keeps the
to have someone like her in the dugout, Scotland experience, league experience with Hibs. She's going to attract some players when she gets a proper window in the summer. But it all comes down to money and budget. We don't have an awful lot.
Yeah.
There's not an awful lot of budget to play with there. And I would go so far as to say that neither do Celtic or Rangers, really, because as far as Scottish women's football has gone, it's still not reached the heights that it should. Because the fan base isn't quite there yet. You don't get the thousands of people at these games. So you look at Hibs versus Rangers, and the Rangers are at home, you're talking about 350.
Yeah. That's the same over here, in fairness. Like,
Celtic are getting the same, 300 to 400. Hibs are the same, 300 to 400. You know, Glasgow City, 300, you know, even less at times. So they're not getting the crowds. You know, BBC Scotland is putting the money in to put the games on TV. It's great. But the investment isn't there and the fan base isn't there quite there yet. So there's never going to be a big budget for these teams.
Yeah.
Hibs are professional and they're doing it within budget. But that league win was not a one-time thing, I don't think it will be. But it was definitely the peak of, right, this is the best we're going to be with this manager. There's nothing, you're not going to beat that. You know, to win a league title in that situation was amazing. Unbelievable. We didn't even think we would do it. And we were beating Rangers away 3-0. We were beating Celtic 4-1 at home. We were beating Celtic 1-0 at home. We were beating Glasgow City at home. We were beating Glasgow City away. We were knocking them out of cup competitions. So, you know, last season, despite the league win, we were still getting big wins over the Glasgow teams in the league competition as well, and in cup competitions. So I think this season is a real watershed, because we realize now that we have to rebuild again. Some of these players that are now here, I mean, our team's probably going to be half gone in the summer, if I'm honest. You know, Scottish women's football is at a really high level. Obviously, even we brought in Scarlett Heron and Jess Fitzgerald from Peamount and from Rovers. In the summer, and I was delighted with that, because they're League of Ireland, you know, winners. You're talking about league winners coming over to play in the Scottish Premiership, and they've adapted so bloody well. And I'd love to see more League of Ireland women's players coming over to Scotland.
I think there's a genuine pathway there, because it'd be fascinating. Like, this is the thing where, like, hopefully when, like, the European side of women's football will expand a little bit, and you get to see, like, a nice comparison of, like, how, say, Hibs would line up with, say, Athlone Town, for example, if we're doing champion versus champion.
I would love a preseason thing of having games against these teams, like Athlone Town take on Glasgow City, Hibs take on Rovers, you know, Rangers take on Shells. I would love this kind of interleague friendly tournament preseason, where one country hosts it each time. So say you have, like, you take a ground like Easter Road, or you take a ground like Tynecastle or wherever, and you just host the tournament there for like a week pre-season, where you have these teams that come over. Maybe even get a few from down south from the Women's Super League second division. You get Southampton, you get Newcastle, you get all these teams that are in the second division of the Women's Super League. Get them up as well. Have that tri-country tournament, like a home nations type of thing. But that's just I've spoke about that for a while. That would be amazing. But again, the money's just not there to
Yeah,
make it
and
happen.
exactly, it's like again, everything's kind of like orchestrated to the league as well. So like that's. But listen,
Yeah,
if there's a lesson, I suppose like ironically enough, the lesson actually would be for the Hearts team at the moment is that like you have a good core of a team there.
yeah,
Like if you're gonna deal with this manager, you're gonna do it now because needless to say, I think one of the biggest like losses Hearts will have next season will be probably Derek McInnes himself. He'll probably will get poached by if it's not someone in Scotland,
yeah.
probably somewhere elsewhere. So if I so to wrap up a podcast, if I was gonna put you on the spot here, you're looking at this kind of three horse race here.
Yeah.
Presuming Celtic do get a result against Aberdeen and there is only 3 points in it with goal difference
Yep.
very, very close together. Hand on
Yeah.
heart, who do you see object like if you're doing a head versus heart situation here, who do you see winning the Scottish Premier League this season?
Hearts.
Do you think Hearts are gonna do it?
Don't
Yeah.
blow it. Do it. Go and do it. Do not blow it.
Yeah.
That's all I would. That would be my words.
Mm.
Don't blow it. Go and win it.
Okay.
Break this stranglehold because it can only benefit Scottish football.
Okay.
That's it. End of story.
Yeah.
That's my feeling of it. I would rather Scottish football grow with winners outside of the Glasgow teams because that's the only way it can grow to be more
Fair.
competitive. So
Okay.
don't blow it. Go and do it not just for yourselves. Just do it for the sake of the league and Scottish football in general.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a. To be fair, I would love for the morbid curiosity myself to see how Hearts do as well because it's also that like it's also that kind of morbid curiosity like okay now Hearts are now the top team now in Scotland. They now have to do the whole Champions League shtick as well now, and it is a case of like and also how that kind of changes how that would change the Scottish League into what it becomes now because like I said I don't have to talk to you about coefficients, Dave. You can see the numbers plummeting for Scotland year upon year. Like I think they're now at very great, massive risk now of losing like a Europa League spot because of how
Yep.
fast they're dropping.
That'd be
And
detrimental. Detrimental.
yeah. So it is a case where like and again there's two different approaches here. Whether they say, okay, we need to be a one team league and let Celtic or Rangers like fly the flag every year, or you go almost like this or like you go the complete opposite direction and try and like, have as many winners as possible, like raise the floor as best you can with the teams that you have. But again, it's that other problem was sort of like and I suppose the problem that the League of Ireland has had to a certain degree as well. It's only really been Shamrock Rovers that have been able to make it to Europe up to this point.
Yep.
Last year was a freak accident because Shells had our proverbial spot, if you guess, and we had to do it the hard way. And even then, like Rovers getting into Europe was a miracle from the draws that we got. We got very good draws up to that point, but we've earned that seeding up to that stage anyway. So like so we had Kieran on earlier on talking about Pats like getting fucking Besiktas in Istanbul. They don't have any hope because they look at the teams they have to compete against, and the same
You
for
look at
both.
Shells against Palace.
Yeah. But listen, but that's the
they're
type of
never gonna
match
compete with that.
you earn by getting into Europe. Like that's
Yep.
that's the sort of thing where like and again that loss and granted I was there, it was a hiding by Palace and it was also a Palace team that like has not won since, bizarrely enough. But it was at the very least where like that's so much more of a learning for Shells than any other League of Ireland match would ever be. Because you're all going up against genuinely good footballers, physically stronger, like talent, more tactical, more technically gifted than you. So where do you learn from it? And Hearts will have to have that same adventure as well. If they do get it up to the top, they're now rubbing shoulders with like serious European elites, and they have to make good of that year. Whether it's transitional for them or they just recruit more money invested in the club, whatever you do with it, it has to be this like that year after that post-season like championship year, like will make or break a team like that.
Now, I will end on this. If there's one league we can learn from in Europe, Scotland, Ireland, wherever there's Norway, Sweden, all these kind of leagues that are in that, let's just say mid-table or mid-ground of where they want to be, look to Germany. Look to Germany, right? I'm looking at my Instagram feed and it's blown up with the UEFA Youth League meeting with Inter Milan and FC Köln. 50,000 people for UEFA Youth League game in Germany. That is absolutely outrageously insane.
Yeah.
And in a good way.
Yeah.
Because if you want to learn how to build your club, 50,000 at the UEFA Europa, Youth League game?
We'll do that. That support. Yeah.
I mean, they're getting 50 grand. Sorry, 50 grand. They're getting 50K in the gate towards the academy team.
Yeah.
That revenue is not going to the first team. That's going to the academy.
Mm.
So, I mean, if you want to know how to support a football team, look at the German fans. End of story.
Yeah.
You want to talk about best fans in the world? There's no argument. Anyone who says other than Germany is lying. They have to be. There's no more devoted fan base in the world. There's no more supportive fan base in the world than the German teams. I remember, I think it was last season, Eintracht Frankfurt's game was cancelled or postponed,
Mm.
and 15,000 of them showed up to the futsal game indoor with pyro, a full tifo, pyro, and flags everywhere.
Yeah.
To an indoor futsal game.
That's going out for a jolly as well. Like that's
ridiculous.
Yeah.
But that's what I'll end it on. If
That's
you want to
fantastic.
grow your league and you want to study something and take examples from elsewhere, don't look any further than Germany. Go
Yeah.
and interview the fans. Go and do a bloody think tank over there. Why did you go to the youth league games, 50,000 fans? What made them go there? Study it, because
I love
that's
it
how you
game.
grow it. That's how you grow a
Yeah.
league.
That's it.
End of
Absolutely.
story.
Okay,
So
yeah.
I'll end it there.
Yeah.
Growth in European football. Ask the Germans, because they know how to do it.
Exactly. Well, we'll leave it on that note then, lads. As I said in an episode in a podcast episode, we were getting back to our roots, our own selves, talking about our own domestic league, and then I think that's a very nice message to end on, is to support your local and fly your own
100%.
flag and get back to your roots in that respect. And rest assured, Dave will be there for every home game he does this year, and I'll be there as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and again, we will be dipping in and out of the League of Ireland as things go. Because like the joy of the League of Ireland in that sense is that like things will happen over a month. It's not like a week-to-week mile panic that happens in the Premier League. Things are allowed to breathe a little bit, unless something terrible is going on. Or do you know what? There's always fucking drama in the League of Ireland as well. It's too fucking small. Like we didn't even mention the fact that the Bows players kicked off at a fucking ample gig. Like that's ancient history now. That happened back in fucking in before Christmas. Like that's ancient history now. We've moved on from that.
Yeah, and let's face it, we all look forward to the release of Bo's next band T-shirt. But yeah, fuck Bo's.
Yes, exactly.